Welcome to Crime Bout. Tarek Mentouri, Nashville PD's aiding of a predator.
Metro Nashville, Police Fire Medical.
So I was sexually assaulted by this guy.
He sexually assaulted her.
That he's a very dangerous person.
My girlfriend's very concerned for her safety.
There's something so uniquely sinister about him.
I had tears going down my face.
Did you honestly think he would be arrested that day?
I thought he would.
I also kept my socks as DNA evidence. I still don't know what happened to that evidence.
Obviously, there has been a breach in public safety.
People like me are falling through the cracks.
This story made the news in Tarek's hometown.
They had so many case files on this guy, and they just allowed him to keep going.
When you review how this case was investigated, lazy, dropped the ball, incompetent, do you feel that police ultimately failed you?
I do. They failed a lot of us.
What do you say to those women that would never get justice?
There's nothing you can say.
This person was a predator. I think he's a predator.
I had no idea that I was going to a predator.
Want to burn
To write her songs, Peyton Parker looks to her memories. Some more painful than others.
I don't really go a day without thinking about it. I don't even want to look at it.
She was just 25, among the scores of musicians who come to Nashville knowing she needed a job just to make ends meet while pursuing her dream. So on July 17, 2020, she arrived at this home in North Nashville for a job interview as a massage studio assistant for a man named Tarek Mentouri. The studio, it turned out, was inside his home, and the job interview required something Parker wasn't expecting: a massage. Mentouri would then put lotion on his hands and begin massaging her shoulders and feet.
He asked me if he could take his shirt off because it was getting hot in the room. And I said, no, I'm not comfortable with that.
Unclear why she was being massaged as part of a job interview, she started secretly recording.
I'm not super comfortable with that right now.
It wasn't long before Parker knew she was in real trouble.
I noticed he was starting to touch himself in his general area. I saw his hands on his crotch.
According to the police report she immediately filed, Mentouri began masturbating. She said she was leaving, stood up, and left.
I called my mom, talked to her. She was like, you need to file a police report. I expected that he would be arrested immediately. He assaulted her.
What Peyton Parker and her mother didn't know is just how often it had happened before. A pattern we found that had gone on for years. In fact, long before Peyton Parker even stepped foot in Mentouri's home, he already had a string of victims. Victims, it turned out, police were well aware of.
He had his hand on his crotch.
Kelly Cochran, a wife and mother, got a gift card for a massage in February 2018. Cochran would file a police report, citing that Mentouri had touched the side of her breasts during her massage, and that he'd taken off his shirt and unzipped his pants.
I just kept saying, this is not okay. This is not okay.
Do you have any doubt that he was actually masturbating?
I don't have any doubt.
10 months after Kelly Cochran went to Mentouri, this woman, we're calling Jessica, booked a massage. She too filed a police report almost immediately afterwards.
He proceeded to put his mouth on my breast, and then I could feel him getting a boner on top of me.
That had to have been terrifying.
Yeah, it was super scary.
According to her police report, Mentouri grabbed her hand and placed it on his genitals.
I was definitely still in a state of shock driving home.
Did you think he would be arrested?
I did actually.
4 months after Jessica, Julia Stone would go to Mentouri for a massage in Clarksville, Tennessee. That's a military town northwest of Nashville. She wrote in her police report, Mentouri made moaning noises and could feel his genitals touch her leg.
I reported the incident within hours of it happening to me.
5 months after Julia, an unidentified woman filed the police report that Mentouri put his mouth on both her breasts during a massage. 3 days after that report was filed, Ashley Watkins went to Mentouri's house for a job interview.
He put his hands underneath the table and I could hear him touching himself. I was looking around the room at the different doors, wondering if there was a way that I could get out.
In her police report, she wrote, Mentouri began to masturbate.
He was moaning, he was gasping for breath. I could hear his hand moving. He licked his hand and put it under the table. I knew exactly what he was doing.
3 months after Ashley Watkins, in November 2019, Taylor Hancock also went for a job interview. Within minutes, she says the assault began.
All the while I'm saying, I don't like this. You need to stop. You need to let me go. Then he instructed me, to go lower and lower and lower until I was massaging his genitals. Then I had to kiss his genitals, and then that turned into full oral sex. In my mind, it was like all I could really do was comply. There's something like so uniquely sinister about him.
Hancock detailed the assault in a police report, reading, she did not wish to prosecute, only wanted it reported. But she says she later reached out to Metro Police because Mentouri was texting her, writing, I'm so sorry for exposing myself and having my privates near your face. Mentouri, though, wasn't arrested. And he wouldn't be, even after this woman filed a police report in January 4th, 2020, or when a woman filed a report 6 days later, or when a woman filed a report 2 days after that. Following that report, it would be another month and a half before this woman, we're calling Marissa, would come for a massage with Mentouri.
He was placing his testicles on my hands. I felt his tongue on my nipples. He was sucking my toes, and I had tears going down my face. So it's not like he was unaware that I was absolutely in a frozen panic.
Like Taylor Hancock, Marissa also received a message from Mentouri afterwards.
I said, I paid you for a massage, not an assault.
Did you honestly think he would be arrested that day?
I thought he would. I had irrefutable evidence of what happened, and I thought surely they're going to go.
On the same day, Marissa filed her police report. 2 other women also filed sexual battery complaints about Mentouri, including this woman we're calling Nina, who told police he put his genitals in her hand.
I don't think they took it seriously.
In all, 15 women filed police reports on Mentouri before Peyton Parker ever went for her job interview.
It's ridiculous that he was able to just prolifically assault people for years with no consequences.
Brief intermission. What happened here? Why so many complaints and no charges? Is it possible they felt like, well, they went there deliberately into someone's home and not a business? What happened with the police department, Nashville Metro Police Department? 15 women. And that's not the total amount.
People were also calling 911.
I was sexually assaulted by this guy.
My girlfriend's very concerned for her safety.
He's a very dangerous person. Hello?
May I speak to Ashley, please?
Hi, this is Ashley.
Ashley, my name is Kim Ruffalo. I'm a detective with Metro Nashville Police.
That's overnight sex crimes detective Kim Rothwell. Police reports show she was assigned to many of the cases. Through open records requests, we obtained recorded conversations with Rothwell and two of the victims, including this one with Ashley Watkins.
I don't generally like us telling people this, but I can tell you I've had multiple reports on him. The problem is a lot of the experiences are like yours, where it gets weird enough that people are like, okay, I'm leaving before something gets more. And he just barely doesn't meet the level of a sex crime. There's an element in sexual battery for most of my cases that we don't reach because we have to prove that it's for sexual gratification. On your case, our situation may be that we can definitely prove that it was for sexual gratification based on your observations.
He was making noises and had his parts of my body fully in his mouth. It was very obvious what was going on. It wasn't a secret.
I definitely think that simple assault would apply here.
It's unclear if Rothwell knew about all the police reports filed by women, but she does know that not only are Metro Police investigating,
We're working on several other charges. Not just us. I know Clarksville Police has at least one case on him.
that case was Julia Stone's, again in Clarksville, Tennessee. Not only had she filed a report, she'd given them her clothing for potential DNA. Her case not only adding what she says happened, but potential physical evidence.
They still have my clothes and DNA evidence.
It's something Rothwell says in her call with Watkins. She too is after.
We're looking to try to get some DNA from him on another case.
I used to have my socks that I've not washed.
Okay, hang on to those.
And I have them in a plastic bag.
It turns out yet another woman got tested for DNA evidence. Back in September 2018, as the second documented victim of Mentouri, Jessica went to the city's sexual assault center for DNA testing.
When this young lady went in to tell her story, why didn't someone ask her, did she have any clothing from that day? It is very bizarre to be holding this conversation over a phone and the victim is saying, well, I have socks. This is very bizarre. When you took her report, she had to have gone into the police department. Did you not ask the young lady for any evidence of fluid on clothing? If you didn't, why not?
did not shower after arriving home.
a nurse came in and she actually swabbed my breasts and my toes and took samples. So I thought maybe they could take samples from my breasts or my feet, do something with the saliva.
Her 2018 report reads, Detective Rockwell of MNPD Sex Crimes was notified.
We've been trying to track him down and get his DNA for a while, and I have not been successful in doing that.
Well, I hope that these socks might be able to make a difference then.
I also kept my socks as DNA evidence. I put them in a brown paper bag and I let them know, like, I've got clothing with your saliva on it and I can give it to you right now. And I still don't know what happened to that evidence. I don't know if it was ever processed or not. If his DNA was found on it, I don't know.
What we do know is what happened to Julia Stone's clothing. Clarksville police wrote in an email that her clothes were not tested for DNA. The police department citing that Stone's case did not rise to the level of probable cause. In her phone call with Ashley Watkins, Rothwell says getting DNA is vital.
We might, if it's possible, there is a chance what we may do is maybe take out a warrant on him, maybe even for your incident, so we can get him picked up and get his DNA that way.
Definitely needs to be stopped if it's really been going on for this long.
Some of them are actual legitimate crimes and he absolutely needs to be arrested.
What did you think would happen?
None of it went the way I thought it would happen, to be honest.
This conversation will not make sense to the average human being because if you have actual crimes, then you're contradicting what you're saying to this young lady and the other victims. It can't be actual crimes, but you've never arrested him. But yet in the same breath, you would say some crimes didn't, or some allegations didn't meet the criteria for an arrest. So which is it? Because it can't be both. Because that is what you've told many of the women, is it not, Detective? That their allegations didn't meet the criteria for an arrest, not considered a sexual assault. The groping, the touching, him touching himself. So if you had crimes committed by him and you are saying you think these are crimes, then why was he not arrested?
I stopped hearing from the detectives.
I wonder if you thought at the beginning, well, I'm in pretty good hands.
Yeah, I'm a huge Law & Order SVU fan. I thought I had my Olivia Benson, but I did not.
Wow.
In an email between Rothwell and a Clarksville detective, Rothwell writes they don't have his DNA, that Mentouri won't come to the door to talk to police, and quote, we haven't slowed down enough to be able to get a workable plan for him, citing the vast majority of our cases are only chargeable as simple assaults.
Once it got turned over to Rothwell, I just did not feel like she cared at all. Every time I tried to call her, she just had no information for me.
I heard from the female detective 3 months later. She said it was still in process. She would get back with me. I tried emailing her, tried calling her, never got anything back. I thought maybe someone would get back to me, but no one ever did.
And it turns out women weren't just filing complaints with police. They were also alerting the State Board of Massage Licensure, the agency in charge of revoking massage licenses. A records request with that agency revealed a woman filed a complaint about Mentouri with the state for provocative sexual assault during a massage in 2017. The next year, Kelly Cochran would file the complaint with the state as well.
I always thought I would be able to defend myself if I was in this situation, but I completely froze.
This woman says she complained to the state after her assault on March 2020.
I thought they would actually investigate it, and I just never heard back from them.
Marissa did as well.
The massage board had multiple complaints on him and allowed him to keep practicing. So the police and the board, to me, are complicit in my assault and other people's.
I know they do have an open investigation on him.
In an undated phone call with another victim, Rothwell confirms the state is investigating.
I have encouraged as we'll talk about here, everyone to make a complaint to the massage board as well.
I'm wondering now, like, how is this man allowed to practice with the massage license? How is there no warning? It's kind of scary. I had no idea that I was going to a predator who was being watched by police.
But those who say they filed with the state say they heard nothing.
Crickets for years until your story came out.
In July 2021, in the wake of the pandemic, frustrated with police, women began to come to WSMV4 Investigates, telling stories of Mentouri.
I think he's a predator. His touched my arm, and I immediately recoiled.
How do you feel that you made these complaints in 2018 and still today nothing has happened?
It's really frustrating. It's really troubling.
We then tracked him down and he agreed to a FaceTime interview, making bizarre claims, including that the women were after his lottery winnings.
I completely deny the accusations that I won the lottery, and they are trying to do what they can to get cut some of my money.
I've interviewed all of these women. Not a single one of them have mentioned at all that you won the lottery.
Oh, duh. That would blow their cover.
I find it a little hard to believe that women would go to this extent to file police reports and to go public with this just in a way to try and get money from you.
People have done that, unfortunately.
These women don't know each other. They're all making very similar claims. Doesn't that seem to indicate that something really went wrong?
If anything, I see a lot of differences between the three accusations.
She's pretty upset with police. Metro Police wouldn't comment, citing an ongoing investigation, nor would they release just how many women had filed police reports or release the 911 calls. But as our stories continued to air, more and more women came forward with more scrutiny of the state and police.
When I saw that news story, it kind of destroyed me. I was angry. I was upset.
4 years after the first woman filed a complaint with the State Board of Massage Licensure, they announced they would at last be holding a hearing the next month about Mentouri. Before that hearing, the then commissioner of the State Department of Health was part of a state news conference. Many of these women are very upset with the state, saying, why did this take so long? Do you have answers as to why this took so long?
I'm unfamiliar with the case you're referencing, but I can unequivocally tell you that that is unacceptable at every single level for a practitioner to ever have any inappropriate contact with a customer or a client. And so thank you for that heads up, and I'll be sure to take that back to licensure.
Is it acceptable to you that this has taken this long to even have a hearing that's this serious?
I won't comment on the merits of that case until I know more.
Okay, we'd like to talk to you when you find out about that.
Sure.
When we later asked for a follow-up interview, we got an email from the state saying the commissioner, despite her promise, would not be available. And the quote, even if founded, every violation does not rise to a suspension. Investigations can be complex and take time, particularly as new witnesses or allegations come to light.
Obviously, there has been a breach in public safety.
Also seeing our reporting, Faith Fairholt, a former member of the Board of Massage Licensure.
What purpose of the massage therapy board in relation to the public is public safety. So that's why it's such an important story that you're doing.
As a former board member, do you feel like that the system we have now in place to investigate these complaints is flawed?
Apparently, it definitely is.
On August 12, 2020, the board met virtually.
He engaged in sexualized and unprofessional behavior with these clients. He did things like asking them about whether they've been kissed on their feet.
Mentouri did not attend the hearing to learn that the board would revoke his license.
Brief intermission. Why didn't he attend the board meeting? Didn't want to. Just been a joke. Not serious enough to him, obviously.
I felt sexually violated.
After his license was revoked, online ads continued to offer his services without knowing about the board's action. This woman booked a massage.
I walked into the situation with no knowledge that this person was a predator.
The woman then filed a police report claiming Mentouri placed his genitals on her.
Put his genitals on her
Knowing
head.
what these women had reported, we decided to send in an undercover producer who easily booked his own massage with Mentouri.
I'm Alex. I'm here for the 30-minute.
Mr. Mentouri, I'm Jeremy Finley with Channel 4. So we need to ask you about why you're still doing massages when your license has been revoked.
I want him to be prosecuted. I want there to be actual consequences.
What they should have done was went inside of the house. The guy who went in knocked at the door to say, I'm the person here for massage. You should have went in with your own camera rolling and playing and ask questions. And then this reporter, you'd stand outside because naturally you couldn't push your door open. That would be breaking and entering. Very interesting.
But there would be no consequences after we exposed Mentouri and his new victim. No action was taken by police. In fact, in this undated phone call with another victim, you can hear the woman ask, why hasn't police conducted their own sting?
Why don't you just invite somebody else to send them in there?
Well, it's an idea that has been passed around my office several times, and it's not something that I have the authority to make happen.
Mentouri had also hired a lawyer to fight the board's action, and police reports showed women continue.
Let's hear that again.
But there would be no consequences after we exposed Mentouri and his new victim. No action was taken by police. In fact, in this undated phone call with another victim, you can hear the woman ask, why hasn't police conducted their own sting?
Why don't you just invite somebody else to send them in there?
Well, it's an idea that has been passed around my office several times, and it's not something that I have the authority to make happen.
Mentouri had also hired a lawyer to fight the board's action, and police reports showed women continued to go to him for massages. If anything, the complaints ramped up. After his license was revoked, 10 more police reports would be filed by women, and Mentouri's antics would ramp up too. He began to claim that a twin brother was responsible for the crimes against women, sending us a badly edited photo. We also received a text from his phone number from a purported family member saying he recently passed away. Not long after, an online obituary was posted. Then came the voicemails.
This is Mitch again. I just had a question about a thumbnail for an article.
Voicemails left with the company that was then managing the website for WSMB, asking that thumbnail images of Mentouri be taken off the website. The caller identified himself as Mitch. At the time, WSMB's news director's first name was Mitch.
It's Mitch again, WSMB.
Not only getting the call letters wrong for the TV station, the email sent about removing Mentouri's picture was not the news director's email, nor was it his voice. And the phone number calling?
Please call me back at 770.
Was Mentouri's. Articles then began to appear online from fake news sites like the New York Wire, with headlines reading, Tarek Mentouri vindicated. But all of this would pale in comparison to the media exposure he was about to receive.
This story made the news in Tarek's hometown.
On October 20th, 2020, Mentouri became the subject of a two-part Dr. Phil episode. With a now nationwide audience, Mentouri agreed to take a lie detector test.
John, what was the result?
Major deception.
Here's the thing, he doesn't have an identical twin.
The twin picture and story was intended to be a complete sarcastic joke.
Also featured on the episodes, body language experts. What's your take on Mr. Mentouri?
Well, you made a good call on this guy because you nailed it. He's the kind of person, in my opinion, that has explosive anger.
Do you find him to be a dangerous individual?
Yes, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm at a 10. I'm voting on the psychopath side. I think he's a dangerous personality.
We would then learn this wasn't the first time Mentouri had appeared on national television.
I'm working on a massage therapy license.
Clips of him then surfaced from his appearance years earlier on the MTV show Catfish, where he was busted for pretending to be someone else, even going by his middle name, Isaac.
My name is Isaac. That part was true.
You don't think that there's anything wrong with deceiving people?
No, I didn't know what to think. I didn't feel comfortable at first. And I mean, I got caught. This was dishonest, and I have to apologize.
As 2020 ended and 2021 began, a sign briefly hung on Mentouri's home, reading he was out of state and possibly moving away permanently. Not only victims wondered if he'd ever be held accountable,
People like me are falling through the cracks.
but so did Mentouri himself, sending this email to police on March 23rd, writing, "I have been the subject of a criminal investigation with many complaints, reports over the last 2 years against me. I'd like to know if that investigation has ended, please." And emails show it wasn't just victims who were frustrated. On March 31st, 2021, sex crimes prosecutor Sarah Butler sent an email to Matt Dixon, a high-ranking Metro sex crimes detective.
I want to rewind that for just a second about this email.
As 2020 ended and 2021 began, a sign briefly hung on Mentouri's home, reading he was out of state and possibly moving away permanently. Not only victims wondered if he'd ever be held accountable,
People like me are falling through the cracks.
but so did Mentouri himself, sending this email to police on March 23rd, writing, "I have been the subject of a criminal investigation with many complaints." As 2020 ended and 2021 began, a sign briefly hung on Mentouri's home, reading he was out of state and possibly moving away permanently. Not only victims wondered if he'd ever be held accountable,
People like me are falling through the cracks.
but so did Mentouri himself, sending this email to police on March 23rd, writing, "I have been the subject of a criminal investigation with many complaints, reports over the last 2 years against me. I'd like to know if that investigation has ended, please." And emails show it wasn't just victims who were frustrated. On March 31st, 2021, sex crimes prosecutor Sarah Butler sent an email to Matt Dixon, a high-ranking Metro sex crimes detective, about missing victim cases. Butler writing, "We are still missing many that are still within the statute of limitations. Many of these have statutes that run out soon." Sex crimes prosecutor Chad Jackson wrote, "My problem is Rothwell told the victim on or about August 26th that the case files would be coming over to our office in a couple weeks. And here we are, 6 months later." Working midnights at the time, Rothwell responds, "Several of the case files listed in the email from last week are not even assigned to me. The rest I will prepare as my cases this week allow. I am currently on call and work night shifts by myself in a very busy Nashville." Prosecutor Chad Jackson emails Detective Dixon, writing that Rothwell is seemingly putting them together with the same sense of urgency with which she conducted these investigations. Then, on April 13, 2021, 8 months after we exposed him still booking massages, Metro Police finally did the same, setting up their own sting, charging him with impersonating a licensed professional.
Mr. Mentouri, is there anything that you want to say to your accusers?
I don't speak English.
You're making a joke at this time? I don't think those women would find that funny.
I don't speak English.
facing a misdemeanor charge. Mentor bonded out. Emails between prosecutors and detectives continued. Jackson writing Dixon again. We are almost a month from our first request for the case files. We are approaching another statute of limitations. Time is of the essence. 2 weeks later, on May 14th, 2021, police were back at the home of Tarek Mentouri.
We'll let our SWAT team members conduct their search.
Do you want to say to your accusers?
I don't speak English.
You're making a joke at this time? I don't think those women would find that funny.
I don't speak English.
Only facing a misdemeanor charge, Mentor bonded out. Emails between prosecutors and detectives continued. Jackson writing Dixon again. We are almost a month from our first request for the case files. We are approaching another statute of limitations. Time is of the essence. 2 weeks later, on May 14th, 2021, police were back at the home of Tarek Mentouri.
We'll let our SWAT team members conduct their search.
This time, the charges were far more serious. Rape, sexual battery, assault, and kidnapping. Once again, Mentouri made a joke. Do you have anything you want to say?
Do you have any shoes? Do I have any shoes?
Body camera footage shows Mentouri concerned about his belongings. And surprise over the charges. Just a surprise, Peyton Parker, when we arrived to tell her the news.
Tarek Mentouri was charged with rape, kidnapping, and sexual battery.
Oh, I don't want to curse. Oh my God, are you serious?
I am serious.
I'm shaking. Wow.
And you were the first one, woman to come forward to us and tell us this.
Yeah.
He faces 17 counts of criminal charges.
I'm speechless. I don't know what. Thank you for taking the story and not giving up.
But there would be little to celebrate. As hard as it was to comprehend, there would be another reported victim. Prosecutors say when Mentouri was allowed to bond out after being charged with that misdemeanor, he assaulted another woman who came for a job interview.
Very scared. I was not there for a massage. I did not ask for a massage, and I told him to stop massaging me.
So he bonded out and reoffended because he's a sadist. Can't change. It's been said that sadists do not change. Sexual assaulters, child molesters.
Masturbating.
Still, Mentouri's attorney argued for a lower bond.
He's still presumed innocent until proven guilty. He has Asperger's. And at times he does things that he doesn't know are crossing the lines.
Prosecutors fought back.
This defendant is a dangerous sexual predator.
Judge Jennifer Smith's ruling, Mentouri would be granted a $50,000 bond, required to wear an ankle monitor, prohibited from contacting victims and accessing several social media sites, and required to ask permission to leave Davidson County, permission that would be granted. As he said, he wanted to help his ailing mother in Atlanta. The now accused rapist headed south. With the intense media scrutiny in Nashville, Mentouri would once again stun everyone with his desire to be on television and continue to try and massage women.
This is what we call vicarious liability.
Mentouri would contact Atlanta affiliate WXIA and investigative reporter Brendan Keefe, pitching a story of how he was successfully suing robocallers, even sharing checks of the money he'd made.
It's not just about the money.
But Mentouri didn't give his real name, using instead Isaac Men. On the checks, his name was blurred out. Keefe is one of television's top investigative journalists and caught the lie before going to air and reached Mentouri by Zoom.
I looked for Isaac Men. There is no Isaac Men. Who is Tarek?
That's me.
You gave me a fake name. No, I go by my middle name.
But your last name isn't Men. It's Mentouri, isn't it?
It's abbreviated.
And you're currently awaiting
it's
trial
smiling.
on 21 counts in Tennessee, correct?
Wow.
12 of those are felony charges. We're talking about rape, kidnapping, sexual battery.
Actually, my lawyer told me not to specify charges or offenses, if that's okay.
Why then would you call a TV station while you're awaiting trial in another state on multiple felonies?
Oh, I just wanted to discuss this wonderful opportunity, share it with you. It's very newsworthy.
I was in your home
Very
alone,
newsworthy.
sitting across from an accused kidnapper, rapist, felon out on bail awaiting trial, and I had no idea.
And Mentouri wasn't just trying to once again appear on television. WSMV4 identified 3 women in Atlanta who say Mentouri offered to give them massages.
He closed the door and locked it. At that time, I felt a little frightened.
Telling one woman he wanted to restart his massage business, not mentioning his license was revoked in Tennessee and inactive in Georgia.
He came out with lotion. Lotion, yes. He came out with the lotion.
And once again, using a fake name.
First, he called himself Isaac Miller, and it was Isaac Men. And he insisted that he really wanted to give me a massage, and he wanted to come to my house to do this.
Back in Nashville, prosecutors would learn one of the Atlanta women had filed an order of protection. Among Mentouri's bond conditions, no Facebook. The woman claimed he'd repeatedly contacted her through Facebook Messenger.
I'm afraid of him because through this entire time, he still has yet to say who he actually is.
Well, many people are going to question how is it that he was out of town to exact new crimes, pretend to be a massage therapist with no active license in the state of Tennessee and or Georgia, and to then acquire 3 allegations against him and one of these victims taking out an order of protection. Who approved him going to Georgia? Because if he was to say, I'm going to take care of my mother or work or whatever, he would have to also, I keep forgetting he hadn't been charged with anything. Well, yeah, he had been charged because he's out on bond, excuse me. So if you're charged, you hadn't gotten your sentence, so he couldn't transfer probation. That's what I'm trying to say. So he hadn't gotten a full verdict. So he wouldn't have to transfer anything to another state unless he had been found guilty. So yes, I guess he could have gotten permission from police, whomever, to say, hey, I'm going to Atlanta, I'm going to be there 2 weeks, 3, whatever. And that's why he went, basically, was to move to new territory. I think that's obvious.
This behavior that is indicating a threat that this defendant still poses to the community.
Judge Jennifer Smith had had enough, revoking his bond.
The court will no longer take any other chances with Mr. Mitchell.
Well, you should have done it anyway.
While this case is pending.
Then came word of a plea deal. Mentouri at last admitted guilt to some sex crimes, including sexual battery, sentenced to prison for 6 years, required to register as a sex offender. After court, his attorney wouldn't explain Mentouri's abrupt about face.
Then why did he accept the plea? No comment. There's nothing you can say on his behalf.
And prosecutors wouldn't say why many of the most serious charges, like rape, were dropped.
I can't comment on why that was dismissed.
No. In a statement released afterwards, the district attorney's office wrote they had to weigh evidentiary strength of each case, and a large part is victim cooperation. But in just 3 of the police reports, as it documented, the victims cited they did not want to prosecute.
Wow.
I'm as satisfied as I can be with what we got, like getting any jail time at all for him, I think is great. And having him on the sex offender registry is extremely important. Obviously, he did more serious crimes, so it would be nice if he was also convicted of those, but you gotta take what you can.
For women like Kelly Cochran, Ashley Watkins, and Julia Stone, though, there would be no justice. So much time had passed since filing their police reports, the statute of limitations had run out.
And they absolutely dropped the ball. It's not the victim's fault that this took so long.
Do you feel that police ultimately failed you?
I do. They failed a lot of us.
With the case file now closed, WSMV4 Investigates filed an open records request for the entire police file, which would at last reveal the disturbing truth. It would take 25 women filing police reports over a 4-year period before Mentouri would be arrested on sex crimes charges.
The next time you hear about someone being assaulted and you say, well, why didn't they tell someone sooner? Why didn't they report if this happened? I want you to look at this situation. That's why. This is why people don't report.
After 4 years of asking for an interview, Metro Police finally agreed, not allowing us to interview Detective Rothwell, but instead Inspector Rita Baker, who began supervising the sex crimes unit after the Mentouri investigation. Baker admitted even she had no idea how many women had filed reports before Mentouri was arrested. 25 is a lot.
A lot, too many. Agree. I can't disagree with you on that.
25 women that endured this over and over and over again after women reported.
And that's 25 too many.
But I'm wondering if you think that simply it took too long.
I would say absolutely it took too long. There's no excuse. There's never an excuse. But there's reasons why it may have delayed.
So what are the reasons? Chief among them, according to police, 2020 itself. The year when Mentouri's crimes spiked, Metro Police had to divert detectives. Along with a pandemic, a tornado ripped through the city as well that year.
Add the tornado, add COVID, and just difficult times in general, it was difficult. Now, is it okay to have excuses? Never.
But that still didn't explain the years before and after 2020. Metro Police admitted Rothwell had too many cases in that time. And the fact that she worked the midnight shift hampered communication with victims. But police also say they did present 12 victim cases in October 2020 to the district attorney for potential prosecution.
Brief information. Thank you for joining me.
The DA's office would comment about that claim, but multiple sources within that department say prosecutors never saw the details of those 12 cases, and police had already officially closed many of those cases because of lack of cooperation with victims. In emails to WSMV4 Investigates, notes from detectives claimed some victims stopped responding. We read to Marissa what detectives wrote in her case.
Sergeant Dixon made several attempts to contact victim, but never received a response.
That's not true. I think that once it got exposed in the news what was happening, I think that there's probably some embarrassment, and instead of owning that and making changes and apologizing, I think it's easier for them to double down and blame the victims.
But what about the women who wanted their cases prosecuted and the statute of limitations ran out?
What do you say to those women that would never get justice?
There's nothing you can say. You know, there's nothing you can say to make that better. We care deeply about our victims. We've made some changes in the division to make it better over the last year, but there's nothing you can go back and say to those women. That's not okay.
Those changes were detailed in an email to WSMV4 Investigates. Changes that revealed the far-reaching implications of how this case was handled, or, according to victims, mishandled. A Metro Police spokesman wrote, following the Mentouri investigation, the sex crimes unit now deliberately tracks the number of cases opened and closed weekly. The office conducted internal audits on case management and a self-initiated audit of older cases. 4 detectives were added to the sex crimes unit. Detectives' workload
was greatly reduced from 151 cases per detective to 105. Detective Rothwell's caseload was reduced by more than 50%. As for Rothwell, there was no fallout though. No disciplinary action was taken. When you review how this case was investigated, what's the word that comes to mind for you? Lazy? Dropped the ball? Incompetent? They weren't doing their job. I have to ask you if you feel like police let these women down.
Yes, yes. They did not receive the justice that they deserved.
But there was still someone who we hadn't been able to hold accountable, Mentouri himself. You have agreed to this interview next Tuesday, correct? Despite years of a cat and mouse game, agreeing to interviews and then backing out, we reached him in prison. 2 weeks later, Mentouri entered a visiting room at the Davidson County Jail. Why did you finally agree to answer our questions?
Well, now that my charges are no longer pending, I can speak more openly and not have to worry about anything being misconstrued or used against me.
These are all the police reports that have been filed about you by women. 25 women.
Oh, it was 25 women? Wow.
You don't know?
I didn't know it was that many.
What do you say to them?
I'd like to offer a personalized apology to each one of them, but I unfortunately don't have time for that, but I will offer a big apology.
Some of these women actually wept.
And then, sorry.
When I did interviews with them, describing what you did to them.
In my mind, it was like all I could really do was comply.
Are you aware of the damage you caused?
I think after all this time, I am, and that breaks my heart to hear that any women were in tears.
Multiple stories we heard, multiple women at this point to come forward. Were you surprised that police hadn't arrested you?
I was. Some of these allegations, I think, went as far back as August of 2017. And not to mention, you'd already done, one of the 12 news stories after all. The most serious one, the rape allegation, was that I was arrested a year and a half later.
If they had arrested you when the first complaints came in, would you have stopped?
There would have been a major change to my behavior in terms of, obviously, I would have been meeting women online less or luring them into my home less.
Were you purposely trying to lure them there in order to commit that crime?
Yes, and I think it's pretty clear that I invited them to my home under false pretenses. There's just no other way to put it other than the fact that what I did was wrong. It was underhanded, it was sneaky.
You said that you won the lottery, that the women were trying to get a cut of the money. At some point you told me you had a twin brother who was committing the crimes. You told me after you had been arrested, I don't speak English. You lied over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So the question is, how do we know you're not lying now?
The twin brother was a very tasteless joke.
At the time, did you think it was a game?
I hate to admit it, but unfortunately I was at the time more concerned with, I think, having maybe an arrogant or sarcastic attitude with you.
It seemed like at one point that you were playing a cat and mouse game with us. Were you playing a cat and mouse game here? Were you thinking this was a game?
I hate to admit it, but unfortunately I did not take these news stories as seriously as I should have. And sometimes in life we learn things the hard way.
There's a lot of people with autism spectrum disorder who would never dream of doing what you did. And they may be offended that you would even use that as an excuse or an explanation.
I never really wanted to use it as an excuse. There's at least some minimal relevance to my Asperger's syndrome that caused me to meet women the way I did and misjudge some boundaries.
You refer to them as crossing boundaries, but you pleaded guilty to 3 felony counts of sexual battery.
Yes.
So crossing boundaries is one thing. Sexual battery is very different. Do you understand the difference? You understand the seriousness here?
Yes, I don't say crossing boundaries to minimize my actions.
Despite his apologies, Mentouri still insists in the case of 2 women, they were mistaken.
She felt my chin briefly on her left hand. She probably thought that she felt my genitals,
Women are pretty smart. They know what they're feeling. It's gonna be hard for people to hear you say that.
I understand.
And to believe you.
I understand that it can be hard.
This story made the news in Tarek's hometown.
My name is Isaac. That part is true.
Do you have a fascination with being famous?
Yeah, I think that it's clear that I do like attention.
Wow.
How can any of these women, frankly, how can any woman feel safe when they're released?
Depending on the circumstances of my release, whether it's probation or mandatory parole, or at a minimum the sex offender registry, there will be different forms of supervision and accountability. For the first time in my life, I'll be a convict. I had a clean record before this. I'll be a felon. So I have to be mindful of obviously not wanting to reoffend, because obviously if I ever reoffended or came back to jail for anything for that matter, more than likely get a more severe punishment. I'm determined to not come back to jail.
There's a million things that I could do, a million things that I could do to hurt you.
For Peggy Parker, knowing her testimony helped put Mentouri at last in prison wasn't enough.
This is a initial parole hearing.
She also showed up at his parole hearing as he requested an early release.
Sorry, sometimes I just get a little emotional just because I feel I killed over what I did. My accusers find comfort with that.
He referred to the women as his accusers.
It is hard for him to still be talking this way about his, what he calls accusers, when we're his victims. It still enrages me.
So she testified.
My name is Peggy Parker. I'm a victim of Tarek Mentouri. I don't believe any of his crocodile tears, and I don't believe that he feels a shred of remorse.
The parole official not only recommended his parole be denied, but that he serve his entire sentence.
Amen.
That is my recommendation. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
And the parole board agreed.
And then hearing we recommend to decline, it was like a whoa. So I just kind of like let it all out. How will I know? And I had to show him what real tears looked like. If you
4 days before this documentary aired, WSMV4 investigates uncovered yet another police report filed by an unidentified woman on September 13th, 2017. She claimed assault by a healthcare provider. Her report brings the total number of women who filed police reports about Mentouri before he was arrested to 26. So healthcare provider. So a massage therapist would be considered a healthcare provider, I guess. WSMV4 investigators. Brendan Keefe for his reporting. Peyton Parker for the use of her music. Thank you so much, everyone. You have been listening to the Crime Vault. Crime Vault is where I bring you older stories that either have a resolution or no resolution. Where do I begin? Mentouri. A lot of lies spun by this Tarek Mentouri, who was now 36, birthday February 8, 1988. He is currently in prison, serving 6 years. Has been up for parole. Went up for parole last year, as you heard in his commentary, and it has been recommended by the parole board that he serves his entire sentence. He pled guilty to 3 counts, felony, sexual battery, Where there is a problem is the number. It's only 2 years per sexual charge. So eventually he will be free at some point in a couple of years. We're already in 2024. He'll get released, and he will then be out here in society as a sadist, as a felon, with the same dirty mindset. That's a problem. And we have seen this time and time again with sadists, that they continue on their journey even after being released into society, because old habits die hard. And it has been said by psychologists, psychiatrists, that this is the one deviant act that is repetitive. So as much as he talked in this interview about being sorry and realizing what he did was wrong, so on and so forth, he continued to assault even after being arrested, going to Georgia, reassaulting. So that doesn't show that a person has changed. And we also know that you can't change being incarcerated. You'll probably conduct yourself the same. My view of Mr. Mentouri is that he appeared very feminine to me. He reminds me of the guy who they did the documentary about Showtime of Love Fraud. They're eerily similar to me. That guy acted as if he liked women, using them for their money, stealing their money, but he was very feminine for a male interested in women. I get the same vibe from Tarek Mentouri. He only sounds masculine here, which I think is very bizarre, because when you go back and listen to his interactions with the news, interviews, he sounded very feminine. Feminine in the MTV Catfish commentary. But yet, this interview with the news, last interview, he sounds a bit masculine. Very interesting. The lies he told. That he had a twin. Tells the news reporter, oh, I was just being sarcastic. But to me, it shows he has no empathy. He also pretended that he had died, put up a fake posting of his obituary. He also said the women were conspiring against him because he hit the lottery. But then they checked the lottery winnings. The lottery agency, his name is not on it as a winner of the lottery. Isaac is a part of his name, but he used it a lot in his misrepresentation of himself and to lure women to his home to assault them and or go to their home. The fact that when he went to Atlanta, he could not resist coming up with a story to be seen by the news. Say he was getting fake robocalls, so on and so forth. And the reporter did their homework and realized he had allegations against him here in Tennessee and was currently facing those said charges. This shows you here he's diabolical. He could not stop himself. Who goes out of town to allegedly take care of a sick mother, which I doubt the mother was sick. That was probably another lie. Probably didn't even have a mother in Atlanta. To still go out of town, allegedly had an ankle bracelet he was supposed to be wearing, to still assault 3 women that they know of. Because you always have to remember, people don't tell. Women don't always tell that they've been sexually assaulted or battery or which and so out. So this shows he has a pattern for assaulting women. And he's a liar. So this is where you have the problem. And usually with sadists, they're going to be liars. Because once confronted, they're not going to readily admit, oh yeah, I did that. As you heard here in the commentary. His lawyer said in the commentary in an article that he believes he can change. How can he change? It's been proven that sadists don't change. So how can he change? He's been on MTV Catfish, Dr. Phil, spinning more lies in each segment. He admits that, yes, he likes attention. Obviously, he likes attention. My take on Mr. Mentouri is the obvious. He cannot change because there's something innately wrong with him. Eventually, when he gets out, he will reoffend, and the case is going to be worse because he knows now to not leave a victim to talk. So he probably, more than likely, will resort to violence. You heard this one person from the behavior panel speaking in this commentary that he is deemed a psychopath. He won't change. He won't change. He gave a lot of excuses in these interviews. And you know a person is sick if the one will say they died, passed away. Who would wish death on their own self? That he had a twin. Hit the lottery. These women were conspiring. Oh, they knew. They knew of the lottery winning, which never existed. The fact that these women didn't know each other. The fact these women met him online thinking he was a therapist. I mean, a massage, masseuse. See, where this is a problem, why the police department did not take their allegations serious for the obvious reason. You went to a man's home and didn't know him from a can of paint. You don't have DNA to show that he forcibly raped you. You don't have bruising, strangulation, beat up, battered, because that's what usually comes with sexual assaults. You're being pinned down, hit, hurt, strangled, whatever the assaulter decides to do to you. That was one of the issues with why this scenario went on for years. DNA. Now, naturally, they could have gathered DNA. He's got to go to the trash. He's got to empty things. They could have done a sting undercover, watched him, gathered DNA, so on and so forth. But the allegations themselves didn't meet the criteria of what would be considered a sexual assault in order to issue an arrest. The fact that they went to his home to get the massages. And yes, we get it. You've got to prove he did something to you, but he didn't forcibly rape all of the women. And that's what I'm assuming is where we have this notion of they didn't meet the criteria of some of the allegations. We've got detectives saying they talked to some of the women, tried to call them back. Women saying no, nobody ever called back. Some probably did stop answering, change their number. If it's taking you so long to call, why respond? Another problem is not wanting to file charges. That's another problem. But then we also hear that women did file charges and nothing happened. So it's a catch-22. Some filed charges, nothing happened. Some just wanted to report it, but didn't want to file charges. But you should have filed charges. I also believe that you all should have hired a lawyer to sue the Nashville Police Department, Metro, because that's what I would do. I would file a lawsuit, a civil lawsuit, because there's no jurisdiction on a civil lawsuit. I would file it against him and also the Massage Board of Tennessee and the Metro Nashville Police Department. And I'd name every entity that was involved in my case. Whoever the detective was on my case, I would name them also as the proprietor of the cover-up and conspiracy. Why not? Why not? $150 cases per detective. 151 reduced to 105 per detective. Yes, that's a lot of cases for one person to work. Allegedly hiring 4 new detectives for the Special Victims Unit. But how will it work? Because in the end, even 105, that's a lot of cases for one person to work by himself or herself. The fact that some of the cases were assigned to other detectives and the woman did not know. Just a lot of nonsense. 6 years in prison. 3 felony counts. Has gone on for parole last year, denied. He's instructed to do all of his time. Tarek Mentouri. He's now 36 years of age. Had a birthday in February, born 1988. Where are his parents, his family members? The fact he said he didn't know English, but he's speaking English. I don't know English, as he's being carted off in handcuffs coming from his home. Worried about them tearing up his house. But yet, detectives say they went to your house to try to get DNA. So somebody's lying there. Because he had to have seen somebody out there in a suit. Who's this person? Usually when detectives come by your home, they leave a business card. Was he worried about them tearing up his house then? Because he says that in his commentary, which I find so interesting. I didn't want them tearing down the door. That's why I let them in. Oh, that's because you looked out and saw them in uniform. Oh, yeah, I guess I better open the door. But you didn't seem concerned the other times that they allegedly went to your house to get DNA. You also heard one of the women, saying, why don't you do a sting? And that female detective says, well, that scenario has come up, but I can't make them do anything. So this is a matter of detective work that some of these women feel like that detective, she was uncaring, protocol, statute of limitations, which I have information here pertaining to the Tennessee statute of limitations pertaining to sexual assault. It's 1 year. Okay? Let's see. Hold on 1 second. If the abuse occurred July 1st, 2019, then you have to follow the old statute of limitations that was in place at that time. That would mean using the normal 1 year statute of limitations. However, there's also a tolling rule under 28-1-106A, like the one discussed above for mental disability. So minors would normally have until they turn 19 to be able to file. Cases after July 1st, 2019. The same rule applies regarding discovery for cases where the abuse happened after July 1st, 2019. Victims have 3 years from the time they discover what happened to them to file. However, subsection B2A of the statute also gives victims until 15 years after they turn 18 to file, which means they have until they turn 33. This law also says that the statute of limitations is whichever is later. So if your 33rd birthday passes and you still have not discovered the abuse that occurred before you were 18, then you would get 3 years from the discovery to file your case. If you discover the abuse do not come forward until after 3 years pass, you have to file before turning 33. Wow. This deadline should not matter much at the time of writing because even the oldest minors that this law could apply to will not turn 33 until the year 2034, giving them plenty of time to speak with a lawyer and bring forth their abuse. This is pertaining to children filing abuse claims. For adults, the statute of limitations is only 1 year. That means that if you were 18 or older when the abuse occurred, you will have an incredibly short deadline to get your case filed. If you were a minor when the abuse occurred, the case must be filed before you turn 33. But there are some potential extensions for cases based on events occurring on or after July 1st, 2019. So here you have, as an adult, 18 or older, 1 year to file a case, criminal case. It's not a long time. So I was wondering as I was watching this content earlier this morning, how the statute of limitations ran, because I never heard in the commentary what the statute of limitations were, which they should have said that during this documentary. 1 year. So hell yeah, it's ran out. They got cases dating back to 17. He didn't get arrested until 21. So those are years of him offending women. Now you have to ask, what is the total number of women he has groped, pulled out his private parts to, forcible rape, sodomy? How many women he actually massaged and pulled out his private parts, rubbed against them, touched them? We're also going to ask the question, some of the women who stayed in the room while getting the massage and getting groped, why didn't you jump up, run out? Some will say, well, I was scared, especially when there was intimate touching. I didn't want maybe him to assault me, beat me up, strangle me. We also heard one lady, she did jump up when someone rang the doorbell. He went to the window to look out, and she left out of there. And I believe this is the woman that applied for a job. You see, I'm going to say this as I've said in all my commentary pertaining to the disposition of humans. You have to be very careful where you go and being in the company of a man, especially a man or a boy, teenager, which is however. These people found him online. When you realize he did not have a business, because as I said, you could be assaulted anywhere. You can be assaulted on the street, in your home, a business, a house, doesn't matter. But specifically, you are looking to get a massage or you're looking for something, whatever it is you're looking for. Once you realize it's in someone's house, especially something intimate as this, you're going to be half dressed, you should know better than to go to someone's house to get a massage. I'm just going to keep it real. We've seen famous people having the massage therapist come to their home, masseuse. It's the same. Whether you're going to their house or they're folding up that big old table and bringing it to your house, the point is you're going to be alone with the perpetrator unless you're going to have an eyewitness there during the massage. And most people naturally are going to assault you with an eyewitness there. So I'm going to say this. If you decided you wanted to go to someone's home, you need to take someone with you. Number two, if you're going to have them come in your house, you need to have someone there to witness the massage as not to be alone with the perpetrator. But going into someone's home, period, is dangerous. Whether you've known them all of a day, 5 days, 20 days, word of mouth, hey, recommendation from someone, it's dangerous. We've also seen this with people doing odd jobs for people, painters, plumbers, electricians, and then we hear a horrible story that once the woman let him in, something terribly went wrong because you don't know people. So I would have never went to a man's home to get a massage. That is a recipe for disaster because one, you are disrobing yourself. And 9 times out of 10, I mean, come on, who gets a massage with their clothes on? Nobody. You're going to be there naked under a towel or sheet with a strange man putting his hands on you. Just like the allegations of him putting his chin on body parts. It just didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense. Kissing toes and sucking toes. Come on. A person is getting a massage lying down on their front. So their back is to the masseuse. How are you sucking toes with them lying face down? Explain that to me. So they would have to assume you were doing a massage with them lying face up. See, all this is nonsense. Going in for an interview, but yet you're trying to do a massage. You're taking your shirt off. The girl had to know right then. Okay, it's time to go. That's the girl that filmed him. She started filming. Oh, it's hot in here. Let me take my shirt off. Well, in one of the other allegations, one of the women said the same thing. Oh, he started pulling his shirt and pants off. That's a pattern. How would two different people make that up? They wouldn't know to make that up. They didn't know each other. So how do you have two separate women don't know each other saying the same damn thing? Because this is his MO. Get you in the room. Now he's hot. I guess you are. Got to pull off his shirt. Got to pull off his pants. He's touching himself through his clothes. Now he's got to open the zipper, so on and so forth. Yeah, it's time to go, bro. I came here to apply for a job. One woman went to apply for Airbnb job. Next thing you know, now he's touching himself. See, this is just BS. He's been doing this for some time. So now you have to ask yourself, how long has Mr. Mentouri been groping women, sexually assaulting women? He's made contact with these women through emails, messenger, stalking them, even stealing one's identity through pretending to be her on the internet, asking people personal questions, using the name Isaac, his middle name. He is dirty. And that's the one thing some of you need to understand about this type of behavior. It's going to escalate, as you heard this behavior panelist person saying, he will resort to violence. I can see him being violent. That's the next stage. That's the next stage because he already knows I'm not going to get caught the next time. That's when rapists decide to unalive the victims. There'll be nobody to go file a report. There'll be no tattletelling. And that's the sick part of this story. He will be free eventually. It's already 2024. He comes up for parole in 26. That is nowhere from now. That is nowhere from now. Let's hear older content from the victims. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $BigAngie, 129 Cash App, stickers and chats are always welcome during the live stream. The content you're hearing is pertaining to a Tarek Mentouri. A very vile human being. Hello, everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining me. One second, everyone. WSMB4 News is the source. He's good at lying. He's good at pretending to be other people. Pretending to be a producer by the name of Mitch. Sending emails to different people, things. He's a manipulator. He's a chameleon. And I think anyone with any type of sense run like hell if you come across this man in 2 years when he gets out, because he will have to find a new hustle to manipulate and con, one, to survive, because he would then be a felon. He would also be on the sex offender registry. So now he can't live around children, so on and so forth, assumingly. He's going to have a problem. And desperate people do desperate things. And everything he said in that interview with the reporter is BS. He has no empathy. He has no remorse. As you heard the young lady saying, he called them accusers, not victims. So he has not come to grips with them as being victims. Basically, he's saying accusers as if he was free, but he was incarcerated. He's saying whatever he has to say because he's locked up. But I do not believe he has any empathy, nor does he have any remorse. I doubt that he's repented because he couldn't even call them victims. And that says a lot about who he is as a person. He has not come to grips with what he has done. They will not be silenced.
About him. For 4 years, women say he got away with it.
I hate that it's happened to so many women.
Woman after woman filing police reports, but with no action.
Obviously, there has been a breach in public safety.
So News 4 Investigates began to track them down, one reported victim after another, finding a disturbing pattern where women say the state and police failed them. You feel like they dropped the ball?
They absolutely dropped the ball.
Our findings prompting unexpected attention.
This story made the news in Tarek's hometown
and ultimately resulting in 17 criminal indictments. Mr. Mentouri, is there anything that you want to say to your accusers? And you're about to see how it all happened. A year-long News 4 investigation exposed how a man could be accused by at least 19 women of rape, sexual assault, and kidnapping and not be arrested or have his license taken away by the state for years. And it all began with 3 women with disturbingly similar stories about a man they trusted to relieve them of stress. 3 women, 3 police reports, all about one massage therapist.
I felt his hot breath on my toes, and then I felt like his tongue touch one of my toes, but then I flinched and I kicked him.
Took his hands off of my feet and said he was going to admire them, and that's when his hands moved down to his genitals and he started touching himself.
He's firmly massaging both of my hips, so I can feel his hands and arms
and his touched my arm, and I immediately recoiled, and he said, "Oh, that was my arm."
The complaint's all about Tarek Mentouri, a licensed massage therapist in North Nashville. News 4 investigates, confirmed with police, 10 different women have called 911 since 2019 about Mentouri. This woman says she came here on a job interview to be his assistant, but left after she says Mentouri began touching himself.
I think he's a predator. He's using this job interview to lure in young people.
I completely deny the accusations.
Mentouri agreed to speak with News 4 Investigates about why he says the women are coming forward.
I won the lottery, and they are trying to do what they can to get a cut of some of my money.
I've interviewed all of these women. Not a single one of them have mentioned at all that you won the lottery.
Well, duh. That would blow their cover.
I find it a little hard to believe that women would go to this extent to file police reports and to go public with this just in a way to try and get money from you.
People have done that, unfortunately.
These women don't know each other. They're all making very similar claims. Doesn't that seem to indicate that something really went wrong?
If anything, I see a lot of differences between the three accusations.
Mentouri admits there's no proof he won the lottery because he was part of a group that accepted it without disclosing their names. These women say they want nothing from him, only to stop giving massages.
This guy has a problem, and he needs to at least not be practicing.
So News 4 Investigates started digging and found another disturbing story of a woman who went for a job interview and says she barely escaped.
And with that came kind of,
like so many of the others.
Sorry, I'm botching this.
Taylor Hancock struggles to discuss her meeting with Tarek Mentouri.
Yes, sorry.
And when you hear what she says happened on his massage table, you'll understand why. She came for a job interview last November to manage his Airbnb. The conversation took them into his massage room where the door closed.
He took his pants off. He was laying kind of halfway under the massage table, and things just continued to escalate. Again, all the while I'm saying, I don't like this. You need to stop. You need to let me go.
That Hancock says Mentouri had other plans.
Then he instructed me, to go lower, lower, lower until I was massaging his genitals. Then I had to kiss his genitals, and then that turned into full oral sex.
Going to stop.
The women
Hold
are
on.
coming
Sorry
forward.
about that.
It's where there must.
Someone was going to say, you went there for an interview. Why would you let it get to that point of your mouth near his genitals? Because one's going to say, well, how is your mouth near his genitals? Yes, he's standing up, but he had to have walked over to you while you're sitting in a chair. You had to know what was going on, happening. Why not get up and run out? Because more than likely he probably started with, yes, touching himself. One would say, why not just jump up, leave? Hey, I'm not with this, not down with this. Get out of there, leave. One would say, well, maybe she feared for her safety, was afraid he'd try to attack her.
Their massages went horribly wrong. This is video Tarek Mentouri sent a client showing his table where women like Kelly Cochran say they witnessed something troubling.
So I sat up, and he was laying on the floor with his shirt off and his hands in his crotch area.
So
News
that
4
makes no
Investigates
sense.
has spoken to Cochran and 2 other women who described troubling encounters with Mentouri. They joined
Right there, lying on the floor. One would say that's your exit to run out. That makes no sense. He's lying on the floor. Why would he be lying on the floor if I'm there for a job interview? Then I'm going to kindly get up and remove myself because he's not near you. He's not touching you. He's touching himself. Obviously, that was your chance to get up and run out of the room.
joined 3 additional women, all saying the North Nashville massage therapist inappropriately touched them or himself, either in massages or in job interviews. After one interview, a woman says she was stunned when Mentouri started touching her feet and later sent her this text. News 4 Investigates confirmed it comes from his number. It reads, "I miss your feet. When can you come back?"
Initially, I was very angry because I just thought, like, why would he?
Let me go back a little bit. Hold on.
Didn't file a police report. Hancock did.
I have a great deal of frustration with the police.
It says an investigator.
Hold on, you guys. I want to
Their
go back a
winners
bit.
database. And when the State Board of Massage Licensure finally met, this is how their lawyer described Mentouri.
He engaged in sexualizing and unprofessional behavior with these clients. He did things like asking them about whether they
joined.
Let me go back some. Hold on. There's something I want to hear.
Something really went.
We'll start over because there was something.
Admire them, and that's when his hands moved down to his genitals and he started touching himself.
He's firmly massaging both of my hips, so I can feel his hands and arms, and his touched my arm, and I immediately recoiled, and he said, "Oh, that was my arm."
The complaints all about Tarek Mentouri, a licensed massage therapist in North Nashville. News 4 Investigates confirmed with police 10 different women have called 911 since 2019 about Mentouri. This woman says she came here on a job interview to be his assistant, but left after she says Mentouri began touching himself.
I think he's a predator. He's using this job interview to lure in young people.
I completely deny the accusations.
Mentouri agreed to speak with News 4 Investigates about why he says the women are coming forward.
I won the lottery, and they are trying to do what they can to get a cut of some of my money.
I've interviewed all of these women. Not a single one of them have mentioned at all that you won the lottery.
Well, duh. That would blow their cover.
I find it a little hard to believe that women would go to this extent to file police reports and to go public with this just in a way to try and get money from you.
People have done that, unfortunately.
These women don't know each other. They're all making very similar claims. Doesn't that seem to indicate that something really went wrong?
Well, if anything, I see a lot of differences between the 3 accusations.
Mentouri admits there's no proof he won the lottery because he was part of a group that accepted it without disclosing their name.
This is also interesting. Telling the reporter, I see differences in the 3 allegations. Well, the point is, why are 3 different people making allegations against you? Now, it's not to say that a person cannot lie, make up something about a massage or interaction with the person, but you have 3, and the detectives knew this. And that's what's so horrific about this case, is that so many women were going into the police department simultaneously, not every 6, 7 months, 12 months, 2 years, within days. You can't explain that logically. Different women running into a police department days of each other. Even on the same day, he had at least 3 or 4 complaints on the same day. So that means he was working overtime, assaulting women in one day. And yet it didn't meet the criteria to be considered sexual assault in the eyes of the detective and allegedly the district attorney. And then you later hear in this commentary I played earlier, some of the cases made it there, 12 cases, but the DA didn't know all the details. So what are you saying? The detectives left out certain details? You didn't think to go talk to the victims yourself to corroborate what's allegedly written in the written report? This is all BS. And I will say this to the women who didn't report them. You should have. You should have reported them. And those of you who put in a written report, you should have said, I wanted to press charges. Even if it never went anywhere, you needed it to be documented. Because it was a waste of time to go in and not want to file charges. You just think they're just going to go over there and knock on his door, slap him on the wrist. Now you stop that. You stop pulling your penis out. You stop putting your mouth on private parts and having women put their mouth on your penis, sir. Please stop that. That's a no-no. Don't do that again now. You hear me? Come on now. It's BS. The whole situation is ridiculous. Criteria or not, different walks of life, walking into a police station to file charges, reports, calling also the massage board, you're just as guilty. This is atrocious. And this is where people don't have faith in the system, don't have faith in detectives, police officers, the district attorney, because you cannot have one without the other. People lose hope. This is why now you see why people don't get involved in true crime. They don't report a crime. They don't call 911 when they hear somebody screaming or running for help. They see them running down the street bleeding. Oh, well, not my problem. I'll pass. So now imagine all of the people walking around who have been groped, sexually assaulted by men, women, children, and they have never told a soul. They have never filed a report. This is probably why people don't. Because now someone's telling you, I need more. I need DNA. I need a recording.
Names. These women say they want nothing from him, only to stop giving massages.
This guy has a problem and he needs to at least not be practicing.
So News 4 Investigates started digging and found another disturbing story of a woman who went for a job interview and says she barely escaped.
And with that came kind of,
like so many of the others,
sorry, I'm botching this.
Taylor Hancock struggles to discuss her meeting with Tarek Mentouri.
Yes, so sorry.
And when you hear what she says happened on his massage table, you'll understand why. She came for a job interview last November to manage his Airbnb. The conversation took them into his massage room where the door closed.
He took his pants off. He was laying kind of halfway under the massage table, and things just continued to escalate. Again, all the while I'm saying, I don't like this. You need to stop. You need to let me go.
That Hancock says Mentouri had other plans.
Then he instructed me, to go lower, lower, lower until I was massaging his genitals. Then I had to kiss his genitals, and then that turned into full oral sex. In my mind, it was like all I could really do was comply.
When a doorbell rang, she says Mentouri panicked and ran to the window to look.
And that was my escape. I just bolted.
And she's not alone. News 4 Investigates also obtained this. Emails exchanged between a different woman who came for a job interview 3 months later, after she says Mentouri exposed himself. She says he later wrote her, apologizing, quote, I'm so sorry for exposing myself and having my privates near your face. While that woman didn't file a police report, Hancock did.
I have a great deal of frustration with the police.
It says an investigator acknowledged they were well aware of Mentouri.
They knew about him. They knew what he was doing. And so my first reaction was, well, okay, you know who he is. You know what he's been doing. So why haven't you done anything? This didn't have to happen.
She says while she was hesitant at first to press charges, she repeatedly called afterwards to investigators to say she wanted him prosecuted. She's pretty upset with police. News 4 Investigates contacted police and were told even though so many women have filed complaints, many of them were face down during the massage and didn't witness what they claim he did. Hancock says, unfortunately, she saw it all.
There's something so uniquely sinister about him.
And the number of reported victims kept increasing. And
most people are going to find this hard to believe because one's going to say, how is he massaging you with two hands if he's going to be touching himself and relieving himself? And naturally, a man is going to moan while touching himself and also self-gratifying himself. I would find that very hard to believe you did not know he was touching himself, because at some point he is going to have to relieve himself, which requires him to moan. Come on now. He's going to make some type of noise. Because he can't muffle himself massaging you and also masturbating. Just saying.
Witnessed something troubling.
So I sat up, and he was laying on the floor with his shirt off and his hands in his crotch area.
News 4 Investigates has spoken to Cochran and 2 other women who described troubling encounters with Mentouri. They joined 3 additional women, all saying the North Nashville massage therapist inappropriately touched them or himself, either in massages or in job interviews. After one interview, a woman says she was stunned when Mentouri started touching her feet and later sent her this text. News 4 Investigates confirmed it comes from his number. It reads, "I miss your feet. When can you come back?"
Initially, I was very angry because I just thought, why would somebody think they could do this?
What makes Cochran even more concerned is
Kissing
that
their
she
feet.
filed a police
Jeez.
report and a complaint with the state massage licensure board.
Oh, sorry about that, everybody. Well, massage board, they didn't care either. Just as guilty.
In February 2018, how do you feel that you made these complaints in 2018 and still today nothing has happened?
It's really frustrating. It's really troubling.
Metro Police say they have an active investigation underway. And 2 years after Cochran's complaint, the health department finally confirms they have a hearing scheduled to discuss his license. As for Mentouri, he told News 4 Investigates he's done nothing wrong, and the women are all after his lottery winnings. News 4 Investigates also confirmed with the state lottery board, Tarek Mentouri's name does not appear in their winners database. And when the State Board of Massage Licensure finally met, this is how their lawyer described Mentouri.
He engaged in sexualizing and unprofessional behavior with these clients. He did things like asking them about whether they'd been kissed on their feet.
It's a common theme News 4 Investigates found while speaking with at least 6 women who have filed police reports or have email or text communication with Mentouri. Kelly Cochran first filed her complaint with the state in 2018.
At the time it happened, I felt like I did everything I could in my power to try to get his license revoked.
But Leah, who asked us to use just her first name, says Mentouri put his genitals on her this year during a massage. These women asking, why did it take so long for the state to remove his license?
I sort of was aghast at how many years there's been complaints against him.
And then there is Mentouri himself. He was not at the hearing and did not have legal representation there as well. But here's what he told us in an interview last month.
As far as long term, if I should be practicing or not, or licensed or not, I'm not a harm to the public, and I would never sexually assault someone.
Police say they still have an active criminal investigation underway. These women say it's also way overdue.
He literally doesn't think what he's doing is wrong, and so I think he needs jail time.
The number of reported victims then rose to 15, and we uncovered the complaints to police went back even further than we thought. If you listen closely,
So I started the massage and,
you can tell how difficult it is for Julia Stone to even talk about her encounter with Tarek Mentouri.
he proceeded to do the massage and was breathing heavy. And then,
This is obviously still very traumatic for you.
yeah, it was pretty traumatizing.
Trauma, she says, that was reignited after watching a series of investigations by News 4.
When I saw that news story, it kind of destroyed me. I was angry. I was upset.
After originally interviewing 6 women, News 4 Investigates has spoken with 9 others, making now 15 women who have come forward with complaints of inappropriate sexual behavior from Mentouri during massages or job interviews. And News 4 Investigates has now uncovered that the complaints go back much further. This one from September 2017 of a woman complaining of what police would later describe as a provocative sexual assault. It would take 3 years for the massage board to hear complaints against him and revoke his license. It meant when Stone went for her massage last year, she had no idea women had filed complaints with the state. Here's how she describes what happened to her.
It was sexual assault. I hate that it's happened to so many women. It breaks my heart. It didn't need to happen to this many.
Obviously, there has been a breach in public safety and something needs to be done.
Former board member Faith Fairhope questions if state investigators treated the complaints about Mentouri with enough urgency. As a former board member, do you feel like that the system we have now in place to investigate these complaints is flawed?
Apparently, it definitely is. The whole purpose of the massage therapy board in relation to the public is public safety. So that's why this is such an important story that you're doing.
As for Mentouri himself, after we received a text from his phone number from someone claiming to be a family member saying Mentouri had passed away earlier this week, News 4 Investigates uncovered these responses from Mentouri's online accounts written in the past 48 hours, responding to negative reviews. On Reddit, a person responds, "You're alive? The news said your family told them you died." The response from Mentouri's account, "This is getting really weird." Our investigation would then take the first of several unexpected twists. We uncovered that Mentouri was once featured in an MTV show exposing liars. And for the first time, we could put our questions to the state commissioner about how he kept his license for so long.
My name is Isaac. That part was true.
That's how MTV viewers first learned about a young man named Isaac, busted on the show Catfish for pretending to be someone he wasn't. If he looks familiar, that's because years later, Isaac, real name Tarek Mentouri, is now accused by 15 women of inappropriate sexual behavior during massages or job interviews. In the Catfish episode, Mentouri even talks about his future profession.
I'm working on a massage therapy license. I've had a portable table that I've used for years on a lot of friends.
And it gets even more troubling because Mentouri admits on the show he used a fake picture in order to catfish a young woman.
You don't think that there's anything wrong with deceiving people?
No, I didn't know what to think. I didn't feel comfortable at first. And I got caught. This was dishonest, and I have to apologize.
But that's an MTV show. Customers tell News 4 Investigates what happened to them is much worse. For the first time, we were able to ask the commissioner about it. Many of these women are very upset with the state, saying, "Why did this take so long? Do you have answers as to why this took so long?"
I'm unfamiliar with the case you're referencing, but I can unequivocally tell you that that is unacceptable at every single level for a practitioner to ever have any inappropriate contact with a customer or a client. And so thank you for that heads up, and I'll be sure to take that back to licensure.
Is it acceptable to you that this has taken this long to even have a hearing that's this serious?
Well, that's where there's a problem. Everyone has an answer for everything. The commissioner here of the state health department says what he was doing was inappropriate, but I don't know about the case you're speaking of, but I'll take the information back to Peter, Paul, and Dick. But yet he still was walking around touching women inappropriately. This is a problem. Same thing with the police department. You have all these people running in, filing reports, wanting to press charges, but yet you never did an arrest. You never did an undercover sting just to see if he would do it in an undercover sting. All this could have been avoided. Text messages showing him saying, "I apologize. Sorry I put my penis near your face." How do you apologize? What is your penis doing near somebody's face and they're laying face down trying to get a massage? And yeah, it's still not good enough. Oh, it doesn't meet the criteria, what do you call it? The criteria for sexual assault. Excuse after excuse after excuse. You're basically saying he needed to beat them down, beat them up, pull their hair out, forcible rape, bruising, tearing of the private parts, and leaving DNA to say, okay, I believe you. That's basically what you're saying. That's the message you were sending to the women. Whether they filed a report, whether they wanted to press charges, that's the message you were sending to them. Well, he didn't penetrate you. He didn't put his penis in your private parts. He didn't hold you down. He didn't force an elbow around your neck, around your throat. That's what you're saying. He just touched himself. He moaned. He fondled your breasts. So what do you say to somebody when they say he put his penis in their mouth? Help me understand that one. Damn. It's crazy.
I won't comment on the merits of that case until I know more.
Okay, we'd like to talk to you when you find out about that, please. Sure. But we got this email later from a Department of Health spokeswoman saying the commissioner would not be available for an interview, and added, even if founded, every violation does not rise to the level of the suspension or revocation of the practitioner's license.
There you have it.
Investigations can be complex and take time, particularly as new witnesses or allegations come to light. At this point, Mentouri had been stripped of his license, and an online obituary read he had died. But our undercover investigation found he was still very much alive, still booking appointments, and still being accused by women of sexual assault.
Hey, I'm Alex. I'm here for the 30-minute.
It's 1:30.
I'm really worried about COVID.
And News 4 Investigates is at Tarek Mentouri's massage business. We're here.
I was like, how is this possible?
Because of this Nashville woman, whose Venmo payment shows she got a massage from him in the last few days, as online ads continue to offer his services. Problem is, she had no idea about Tarek Mentouri. That News 4 Investigates had uncovered 15 women claiming inappropriate sexual behavior in massages and job interviews. That the state revoked his license earlier this month. That an obituary then showed up online, and text replies from a supposed family member stated that he had passed away.
I walked into this situation with no knowledge that this person was a predator.
After she got the massage, she filed a police report saying what other women have also claimed, that Mentouri placed a part of his genitalia on her.
I felt sexually violated.
So it was no surprise that News 4 Investigates was able to book a massage too. And the man giving the massage?
Are you the masseuse?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. Tarek Mentouri.
Mr. Mentouri, I'm Jeremy Finley with Channel 4.
You can see the door didn't stay open for long.
Sir, we need to ask you about why you're still doing massages when your license has been revoked. And apparently you're not dead.
We asked repeatedly for him to answer our questions.
We need to ask you about the claims of all of these women. Will you please come out the door and talk to us?
He never responded. But
as I said before, going into the home of someone you do not know is very dangerous. No different than letting them come into your house as a visitor, potential date, sell you something. It's all the same. The one thing I find very interesting is that the reporter during this interview and the other commentary I played for you earlier, that the reporter never asked the women, did it never occur to you that you could be endangering your life by going into the house of a man that you do not know? Whether he showed credentials online, whether you called the state board to verify that he was a licensed masseuse, the point still remains you do not know him. He's not your friend. He's not a family member. And you're going inside of his home unattended. How do you know that he was really going to give you a massage? How do you know that there weren't other men there that could have sexually assaulted you, kidnapped you? That's the one thing I'd never heard during this commentary or the one that I played you before by the same network. So you all should have asked the women that. What made you decide to go into the house of a complete stranger to get a massage knowing you're going to be naked or half naked underneath the towel and or sheet? License or no license? Why would you take the risk? So that will be a question I will pose on the community page today. Would you go inside the home of a masseuse? Number 2, would you invite the masseuse into your home to give you a massage?
But this most recent customer wonders, will he ever stop offering clients into his house?
I want him to be prosecuted. I want there to be actual consequences.
We then learned Mentouri's case wasn't the only one that was dragging to the state licensure. In fact, we found that even after being charged with...
Sorry about this. I always keep jumping off. Sorry. Well, content. Sorry about that. very sensitive when you play this information. Hold on. Because I'm buffering.
Yeah, it was pretty traumatizing.
Trauma, she says, that was reignited after watching a series of investigations by News 4.
When I saw that news story, it kind of destroyed me. I was angry. I was upset.
After originally interviewing 6 women, News 4 Investigates has spoken with 9 others, making now 15 women who have come forward with complaints of inappropriate sexual behavior from Mentouri during massages or job interviews. And News 4 Investigates has now uncovered that the complaints go back much further. This one from September 2017 of a woman complaining of what police would later describe as whose Venmo payment shows she got a massage from him in the last few days, as online ads continue to offer his services. Problem is, she had no idea about Tarek Mentouri. That News 4 Investigates had uncovered 15 women claiming inappropriate sexual behavior in massages and job interviews. That the state revoked his license earlier this month. That an obituary then showed up online, and text replies from a supposed family member stated that he had passed away.
I walked into this situation with no knowledge that this person was a predator.
After she got the massage, she filed a police report saying what other women have also claimed, that Mentouri placed a part of his genitalia on her.
I felt sexually violated.
So it was no surprise that News 4 Investigates was able to book a massage too. And the man giving the massage?
Are you the masseuse?
Yeah. Tarek Mentouri.
Mr. Mentouri, I'm Jeremy Finley with Channel 4.
You can see the door didn't stay open for long.
Sir, we need to ask you about why you're still doing massages when your license has been revoked, and apparently you're not dead.
We asked repeatedly for him to answer our questions.
We need to ask you about the claims of all of these women. Will you please come out the door and talk to us?
He never responded. But this most recent customer wonders, will he ever stop offering clients into his house?
I want him to be prosecuted. I want there to be actual consequences.
We then learned Mentouri's case wasn't the only one that was dragging through the state licensure board. In fact, we found that even after being charged with sex crimes at work, massage therapists were keeping their licenses, sometimes for years afterwards. He's become the face of what some women fear when it comes to getting a massage. Though a woman reported to the state in 2017 that Tarek Mentouri engaged in sexualizing and unprofessional behavior, he continued massaging for 4 years until his license was revoked. In that time, 18 women tell News 4 Investigates they too became victims of Mentouri.
I had no idea the magnitude of people that had come forward to complain about him, and yet nothing was done.
And a News 4 investigation found other troubling accusations. Look at this therapist, accused of sexually violating a woman during a massage who froze in shock. He was fired on July 20th, 2017. It would take 3 months later for the state to revoke his license. Guess what happened during those 3 months? His state file reads he continued to practice massage therapy. And this therapist, his file reads in January 2018, he violated a woman while massaging her in her home. It took the state 8 months to revoke his license. And over again, we found therapists criminally charged with sex crimes in 2014, only to have their licenses revoked 2 years later.
It feels a little bit more, in my opinion, like the perpetrator is the one that's being protected.
News 4 Investigates shared our findings with Faith Fairhope, who served on the massage board for 5 years. She says when she left the board in 2012, she filed a complaint on a massage therapist. Listen to what happened.
It took forever. You couldn't get an update on it, if you tried. And then when it was resolved, you didn't know how it was resolved because they didn't tell you and they said they couldn't tell you. So it was very frustrating.
For months, News 4 Investigates has requested an interview with members of the board, only to be told they weren't available. In an email, a spokeswoman for the Department of Health wrote, "Complaints resolve at different speeds, depending on the length and complexity of the investigations and the disciplinary process." Fairhope believes the state simply isn't moving fast enough.
It's got to be so frustrating for the public that are supposed to be protected.
Speaking of protected, look at this. After News 4 Investigates exposed the accusations against Mentouri, Cochran received this email from Mentouri, reading, "Sorry to keep bothering you, but what other cyberstalker can bring the world so much entertainment?"
I haven't gotten a massage at an establishment since then in Tennessee because you just don't feel safe and you feel like no one's going to take things seriously.
What came next was one of the strangest developments so far. One of his reported victims began to suspect Mentouri was impersonating her online. And speaking of impersonations, watch what happened at our own TV station. Kelly Cochran knew something was wrong when a friend on Facebook asked her, "Why do you have 2 Facebook profiles?"
I said, "No, I don't." And she said, "Well, I'm getting messages from somebody and it's your name."
Turns out someone had created an account with Cochran's family picture and her exact name, asking about Isaac. Here's why that's extra weird. Isaac is a name that Tarek Mentouri uses online, especially in his massage ads. The same Tarek Mentouri, who Cochran and 16 other women accuse of inappropriate sexual behavior during massages and job interviews. Right. Things got even weirder for Cochran when another profile using her maiden name commented on one of our stories about Mentouri, writing that he hadn't been arrested despite all those 911 calls from women. Cochran believes the person impersonating her online is Mentouri.
I think his motive is personally to clear his name in some way or form.
We intended to ask Mentouri about that when he agreed to a new interview with News 4 Investigates at his business, and then never showed up. We also wanted to ask about a series of voicemails left with the company that runs News 4's website. Listen.
This is Mitch again. I just had a question about a thumbnail for an article.
The person calling is identifying himself as Mitch Jacob, our news director. He asks repeatedly that the website take down a thumbnail of Tarek Mentouri's picture from one of our stories. Listen to this voicemail and how he describes our call letters, WSMV.
It's Mitch again from WSMV.
One more time. There's no U in WSMV.
It's Mitch again from WSMV. We have spoken about editing a thumbnail. I just had one final request for a second article to help with.
This person also sent emails thanking the website for disabling the images sent from a mitch.wsmv4. So a couple problems with all this. That's not our news director's email. That's not our news director's voice. But upon learning about it, our news director did send this email to our website. I never called someone to replace an image. So when News 4 Investigates got all the voicemails, we noticed something.
Please call me back at 770.
The phone number that the fake Mitch left is the exact cell phone number for Tarek Mentouri. And the twists weren't over yet, because the reported victims and their families suspected Mentouri was writing fake articles online to counteract our reporting. It looks pretty slick, calling itself the New York Wire, full of articles about news and entertainment, featuring this headline on September 5th, Tarek Mentouri vindicated, claiming he's been cleared of all wrongdoing, referring to his alleged victims as a bunch of Karens that were seeking attention.
Really angry. I'm a relative of a victim.
That's April. She's the mother of one of the 17 women. So imagine the women's frustration when they started seeing articles like these online, from the New York Wire to AccessWire.com, that Mentouri's business is a leading therapy provider in Tennessee, dated August 7th. April is now getting on these social media accounts and fighting back, pointing out that 7 days after this article ran, he lost his license, and commenting on the New York Wire story, "I didn't know you wrote fiction, too." So how did she know it's fiction? That part about him being cleared is sourced to a spokeswoman from Metro Police, who confirms to News 4 Investigates they'd never spoken to this publication. And then there's this line. News 4 investigator Phil admitted that the women's stories were full of contradictions and exaggerations. For the record, I didn't speak to this publication, and my last name isn't Phil.
I know that he's a liar. I don't know what his motivation is, but I know the result is just sort of a reinvigoration of the desire to get him convicted for something.
As for Mentouri, we reached out to him, asking if he was behind the articles. He texted back and said to him the article looks real, and it could be his twin writing it, the same twin he blames for everything, even sending us this picture of them, giving new meaning to stretching the truth. Our reporting then reached the attention of none other than Dr. Phil, but more importantly, brought Mentouri to the attention of body language experts.
This story made the news in Tarek's hometown.
What started as a News 4 investigation revealing how all these women accuse a Nashville massage therapist of sexually violating them is now a 2-part episode of Dr. Phil.
You are a walking encyclopedia of contradictory statements.
Where not only Tarek Mentouri was grilled about what we've exposed.
Well, Julia joins me.
But one of the women who told us her story also appeared.
It's a national platform, and I wanted to let as many people know what he's done.
On the episode, not only did Mentouri fail a lie detector test,
John, what was the result?
Major deception.
But also admitted that he lied when he blamed a twin brother for violating those women.
But here's the thing, he doesn't have an identical twin.
The twin picture and story was intended to be a complete sarcastic joke.
He said he was making a joke. You obviously don't find this very funny.
No, it's not funny at all, whatsoever, not in the slightest.
The talk show hosts also brought on a panel of body language experts, including Nashville resident Scott Rouse.
What's your take on Mr. Mentouri?
Well, you made a good call on this guy because you nailed it. This guy he's really close to he's the kind of person, in my opinion, that has explosive anger.
Do you find him to be a dangerous individual?
Yes. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm at a 10. I'm voting on the psychopath side. I think he's a dangerous personality.
9 months after we exposed Mentouri booking appointments without a license, Metro Police did their own sting, sending in someone to get a massage, resulting in this mugshot. Just moments after Tarek Mentouri was led out of his house in handcuffs, he had this to say to the women who've accused him of sex crimes. Mr. Mentouri, is there anything that you want to say to your accusers?
I don't speak English.
You're making a joke at this time? I don't think those women would find that funny.
I don't speak English.
Human trafficking detectives conducted their own sting and say he again booked a massage and was then arrested. Undercover detectives hauled item after item out of his home, including what looked like an exercise mat. For the women who came here for massages or interviews, we asked him one more time what he would say to them. Is there anything else you want to say?
I don't speak English.
But that charge was only an felony. So why did police wait that long after we first showed he was still offering massages? They would only say their investigation was ongoing. 1 month after that, 5 years after women started filing police reports on Mentouri, the district attorney's office took action. Just moments after the SWAT team arrived in force, Tarek Mentouri was in handcuffs, charged with 17 counts, including rape and sexual battery. Do you have anything you want to say?
Do you have any shoes?
Do I have any shoes? Not long after the arrest, we told Peyton Parker the news. I am telling you today that Tarek Mentouri was charged with rape, kidnapping, and sexual battery.
Oh, I don't want to curse. Oh my God, are you serious?
I am serious.
I'm shaking. Wow.
And you were the first one, you were the first woman to come forward to us and tell us this.
Yeah.
He faces 17 counts of criminal charges.
I'm speechless. I don't know what. Thank you for taking the story and not giving up. And I want to say thank you to all the other women who came forward with me.
Parker is among the 18 women who told News 4 Investigates Mentouri sexually touched them or himself during massages or job interviews. The rape and kidnapping charges stem from a woman who told us he held her down and forced her to perform a sex act on him.
I think he's a dangerous person. He's a predator.
At this point, women thought there would be no more reported victims, but they would learn they were wrong.
We're very scared.
That's how Mentouri's latest reported victim says she felt after she answered a Craigslist ad in April. Prosecutors say Mentouri placed it asking for help caring for his sick mother.
I was not there for a massage. I did not ask for a massage, and I told him to stop massaging me when he started masturbating.
She says she feared she couldn't get away.
I was trying to get out of the second entrance of the home, and I couldn't get the door unlocked, and I started to panic a little bit, and he unlocked it for me, and I got out.
She just moved to Middle Tennessee and did not know at the time he was out on bond. Take a look at the timeline. Mentouri was arrested on April 13th on the lesser crime of impersonating a licensed professional and left jail without having to post bond. Just 17 days later, the victim says he assaulted her in his home on April 30th. It would be only the next month, on May 14th, that he would be arrested on the more serious charges, including rape and sexual assault of all the other women. In court, Mentouri's attorney argued his bond should be reduced to receive better mental health care because Mentouri isn't aware of what he's doing.
He's still presumed innocent until proven guilty. He has Asperger's, and at times he does things that he doesn't know are crossing the lines.
Prosecutors say this new victim is another reason his bond should remain at $500,000.
This defendant is a dangerous sexual predator.
But for some women, there would be no relief in his arrest because our investigation would then find police didn't turn over several cases to the district attorney, citing lack of proof. And for those women, the statute of limitations to get justice had passed. Julia Stone became entangled in Tarek Mentouri's web on March 18th, 2019.
I reported the incident within hours of it happening to me.
Reporting what so many other women would also tell police.
Mine would have been considered felony sexual battery.
When Mentouri was arrested more than 2 years after she filed her report, charged with 17 counts of sex crimes against women, Stone thought she would at last see justice. Instead, she's learned her case will not be prosecuted. Do you feel that police ultimately failed you?
I do. They failed a lot of us.
News 4 Investigates has confirmed her case was not pursued due to a lack of probable cause.
It's absolutely astonishing and not in a good way.
To this day, you don't know if your clothes have been tested for DNA.
No, I have no idea.
Clarksville police confirmed to News 4 Investigates her clothes were never tested. You feel like they dropped the ball?
They absolutely dropped the ball.
Clarksville's police chief agreed to an interview with News 4 Investigates, but then backed out, his office apologizing for the last-minute change, writing Stone's case did not rise to the level of probable cause, adding they would not be participating in an interview to avoid our agency publicly disagreeing with an alleged sexual assault victim. And News 4 Investigates has learned other reported victims will also not see their cases prosecuted. In Kelly Cochran's case, she filed her police report in February 2018. The district attorney's office confirmed in Cochran's case and another unidentified woman, the statute of limitations had run out before prosecutors received the files.
It's not the victim's fault that this took so long.
Metro Police Chief John Drake's office also declined our repeated requests for an interview, but confirmed the women's cases did not develop sufficient probable cause, and the statute of limitations had passed. Stone knows if Mentouri's case goes to trial, she will not be called to testify.
It hurts that there are so many of us that could lengthen his sentence and make it to where there will be less victims, but we're not included.
Investigators would not discuss these cases, but something I've been told repeatedly from women is that in many cases, they had their faces down, as they would often do in a massage. So what they felt, what they heard, they can testify to, but what they actually saw will be in question. But other women say they saw everything. Thank you for watching. News 4 will continue to investigate this, as these women say they will not be silenced.
All right. That was from 2021 WSMV News, as I brought you the latest events at the beginning of this live stream. Thank you for joining me. It was a lot of people question sexual assaults. And as I always tell people, people favor people that they like. So if they hear something bad about them, they don't readily jump on the bandwagon and say, oh, yeah, that's true. Have there been women, men accusing people of faux crimes, of sexual assault, kidnapping? Yes, they have. Maybe that is the reason some of these cases didn't go forward, missed the statute of limitations, because, as I said, these events took place in his home. Majority of them took place in his home. Now, common sense will tell you nothing was mentioned in this commentary or the other one that I played that there was any ads posted or sites posted that this was supposed to be sex-oriented innuendos. Naturally, they would have found that out. He had a posting of being a masseuse. Nowhere in that ad, when you watch it or see it posted, says anything about sex, having sex. And I would assume Craigslist would be the same. As you see, he went on Craigslist to solicit someone to help with his mother. That's just a ruse. The masseuse is a ruse. Help me with my mother's a ruse. It's all the same. Same thing when he went to Atlanta. He did the same thing. So it really don't matter the method. Hey, I need you to help clean my house. Hey, I need you to do this. Hey, I want you to run my Airbnb. Hey, I got a job. They're all the same. I'll give you a massage. I need an assistant. I need somebody to take care of my mother. It's to get you in the house. It's to get me in your house. That's point blank. That's why it's a dangerous situation, and that's possibly why they didn't believe some of the allegations of the detectives. And I think, just like what one of the ladies said, they covered their ass once they seen the case break on the news. They realized, oh, we're fucked now, because now everybody knows about the story. And now they're talking to the news. So we're fucked. We have fucked up. So we got to say, yeah, we handed some cases over to the district attorney. Then we got the district attorney saying, oh, well, I didn't get all the details from those cases. Everybody's got an excuse. But I bet my bottom dollar it is because they went to his house. It didn't matter if 5, 6 people came in one day bringing forward complaints. It's because they went to his house. And they didn't show evidence of forcible rape. I bet my bottom dollar on that. No forcible rape, no DNA, no tearing, no bruising, nothing to look like you got choked, hit, beat. That's why. As for the one woman who was speaking here who said she waited hours, yeah, they're not going to look at you serious. Nobody's going to look at you serious. When you wait hours or days, that's the first thing people always say. 1, how do I know it happened? 2, why you wait so long? Why you wait a day? Why you wait 3 days? Why you wait a month? They're going to judge you that you didn't go immediately to 1, the hospital if it was forcible rape. 2, to the police department if it was groping, masturbation, whatever you're accusing the male of. Because this is what we do. We judge. And you don't want to accuse someone of lying. But as you hear in the commentary that I played earlier, a lot of these allegations did not fit the criteria for 1, sexual assault, what is deemed sexual assault, I guess, in this state. And that's the bottom line. He's known to lie, manipulate, pretend to be other people. He pretended to be a news producer. He pretended to be a young lady he's assaulted, doubling up her profile on Facebook or whichsoever, messaging her friends. So he's watching people she's talking to, picking out people to message. This is a dangerous, diabolical, sinister human being. Machine. This is what he does in his free time. Instead of going to school, working a full-time job, doing something resourceful, this is what he does. He goes out, assaults people, and then when the shit hit the fan, okay, I've got to now do damage repair. I've got to pretend to be somebody to call the news, to do this, to do that, to pretend to be this woman I assaulted, send in text messages. I apologize. What are you apologizing for if you haven't done anything? That should have been enough for the police, but it was not. You haven't done anything. You don't have to apologize. Oh, I'm sorry I brushed up against your buttocks. I brushed up against your breast. Oh, I'm sorry my penis was in your face. That makes no sense. Your penis don't have any business in her face. She's lying face down, so her face should be what? Into the mat. How's her face near your genitals? You're telling on yourself right there, yet that was not enough. So the lesson learned here from this story pertaining to Tarek Mentouri is to not go in a closed space with a stranger. And it is not to say that you will not be assaulted by someone, male or female, but limit your interactions is the point. Better to be safe than sorry. Do not go to someone's house to get anything personally done where you know you're going to be half naked. That makes no logical sense. It's one thing to take a risk to go to someone's house to engage in sex, whether it be for money or you're hooking up or you've dated before 5 years ago, you're rekindling something. You don't know people. You assuming they're going to do right by you. As a relative once said to me many years ago, you can agree to hook up. That could be the assertion. We're going to have sex tonight. But it does not mean he will play fair when the door is closed. Checkmate. That's your assumption. I'm giving it to him. He don't need to take it. That does not matter. This is a game to me. It's about control, they say. So I want to control the victim. Doesn't matter if you say, yes, let's do something. I don't want it like that. I want to force myself on you. I want to watch you scream, be in pain, watch fear, see the fear in your eyes. It's not the same as consensual sex. That's the one thing I had not heard in this commentary, besides the one alleged forcible rape, where he forced, I guess, himself on the woman through oral sex, but not forcible sex, penis to vagina. Very interesting. But he will go there eventually once out. I do believe that. At least 26 allegations against Mr. Mentouri. 3 charges, each a felony. 6 years in prison. Denied parole last year. One of the women went and testified, and he was denied and told he needs to complete his entire sentence. Basically, he's only doing 2 years per charge, which is bullshit. But that's the thing I've noticed with rape ever since I was a child and learned of someone raping a young girl. Statutory rape. He got about 6 or 7 years, and that was in the 80s. So that should tell you something. We have not progressed, and it's now 2024. If a person only got 6 or 7 years for statutory rape in the 80s, and you're now going 40 years in, and this person is still getting the same amount of time, that means we have not progressed in giving justice. Because it doesn't matter if it's anal sex, vaginal sex, oral sex, it's forced. I didn't ask for it. You need to get more time than 6 years. And frankly, he didn't even get 6 per victim. Because I think there's only the one rape. Although his charges are rape, kidnapping, and sexual battery. But I think there's really just one rape, what would be considered as their criteria of one actual sexual assault. So basically, he's gotten a slap on the wrist when you count groping, fondling, masturbating, touching out of 26 people and possibly more. What's 6 years? That's nothing. That's still vacation. And as I said, I noticed that he was feminine in his commentary on the MTV show Catfish. He appears feminine. His voice is feminine, very light. And he reminds me of the guy in the Love Fraud documentary. He's perpetrating that he likes women. He's engaging in sexual activity with women, but his demeanor is that of a homosexual man. That is what I have derived pertaining to Mr. Mentouri. I will not doubt that he is also bisexual. I put my money on it. I put my money on it. And I think after careful observation and something I read today on a post I had posted to social media years ago, it came up in my memory database today. It was saying the reason why the man doesn't like you is because he really prefers a man than a woman. That's deep. I really prefer a man, but I'm assaulting you because I'm angry that I like men more. But I can't come out as a bisexual, homosexual man. Will we find out down the road he is a bisexual man? He has partook in homosexual activities with a male, boys. Because I got a feeling he is bisexual and or homosexual. And he's using these assaults against women to hide the truth that he is, one, a sadist and also bisexual. And the reason why I can say he's possibly bisexual for the obvious reasons. He sound, one, feminine, two, he's not penetrating the women. Bingo card. Come on with it, Queen. That's the one thing nobody has noticed or said in the chat for 2 hours now. And you didn't hear it in that commentary. And naturally would be appear vulgar for the reporter to say that, but somebody should have noticed that. Why is it only touching, groping, masturbating, and oral sex, but not full penetration? I'll let that sit right there. See, Queen is very observant. This is why I tell you, you have to listen. That's why I wasn't doing a lot of talking during the commentary, because I didn't want to talk over the audio. It's obvious. The average man that wants to get off is not just going to be satisfied with groping and touching your breasts. He has you alone. There's nobody there. And he's done it so many times. So why not penetrate the women? Come on now. Why not? And I'm surprised. But as I said, the reporter, it would seem vulgar for him to ask the woman, well, I'm wondering why he didn't penetrate you. He's already doing this and touching and making sounds and shit, laying on the floor, touching himself, basically performing. I think of Silence of the Lambs, just from that one observation. Oh, he was on the floor. Doing what? I'm coming here for an interview, a massage. What the fuck are you doing on the floor, touching yourself? This makes no sense, because he's acting out. As he says, he likes attention. So he's role playing. Stay woke. Likes a big stage. I want a part of it. Hear me roar. He's performing. You can't explain that logically, why a grown-ass man is lying on the floor asking you here for an interview. How do you go from, hey, how you doing? Come in here. I want to talk to you. This is what I want. Now I'm touching myself and I'm lying on the floor touching myself. Come on now. Come on now. Stay woke. This man is a blatant homosexual. He has a problem with himself. He has an identity problem, I do believe. That's why there was no sex of vagina and penis. Because that's the one thing most men would have said to themselves listening. He's got them alone. Why didn't he have sex with them? Why didn't he have full sex? Because that's not what he wanted. I think we know by now, 26 allegations, he could have easily pushed the woman down to perform anal or vaginal sex. But he did not. Why not? Because that's not what he wanted. Because we know, and some of you are going to be like, oh, Lord, here she go. He could not do that with a male. Ding, 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 ding. He could not force a man down for penetration because he probably would not win. Okay? He probably would not win. And he wouldn't want to risk getting hurt himself trying to gratify himself with a man. But I won't doubt that Mr. Tarek desires men. He goes both ways. Or he does prefer men, but he wasn't willing to take the risk in assaulting a man on the table and or forcible rape. And that's my assertion pertaining to Tarek Mentouri. One second. I decided to do a little research on the surname Mentouri, spelled Mentouri. Most prevalent in Algeria, high density, Algeria. So he is a foreigner, but he speaks good English, which lead us to believe one of his parents is Algerian. And either they were born here in the States and or migrated to the States, and they raised him here to where he could acquire an American accent. Because when you listen to Mr. Mentouri speak, he speaks fluent English. But yet when he was arrested, he claimed he did not know English when the reporter was asking him, did he have a comment? He is a grand chameleon, and he's of the scariest kind because he lies endlessly until he did the jail interview. And even in the jail interview, I don't believe a word of what he said. I do not believe that he's sorry. As he said, I can't possibly apologize to everyone. But he's not sorry. And the fact that he called the victims accusers means he has not come to terms with them being victims. He's just caught. So let me go ahead and say not guilty. I'm really stunned that he would even say not guilty, but I think he would have been facing more time. So the lawyer probably told him, go ahead and take the plea. Because if you don't take it to trial, everything you've ever said or done is going to play out in court. Every allegation, every text message, every email, anything you've done digitally, all that's going to come out. Pretending to be people, anything done in Atlanta. He also had another charge in Clarksville, Tennessee. He was a busy bee. And who commits crimes while out on bond? A sicko. So it's no different than selling drugs. You sell drugs, you catch a charge, you get a bond, you go back to the street to sell drugs. Using drugs, catch a charge, bond out, go back to the street, use drugs. It's the same thing. Old habits die hard. So you can't think a sadist is going to bond out and then go pray about it and say, I'm not going to sexually assault anyone. No, ma'am. He is sick. And sadly, the stats are very high that he will reoffend. Now, he wants to take it to Jesus. He will be the only one that can help him. But a therapist, meds, no ma'am. Because he's fighting himself, as with most vices. You are fighting yourself and that demon, be it alcohol, drugs, sadism. You're fighting it because it's within you. And more than likely, you will lose. And I pray that no one will ever cross his path and be alone with him, either a child or an adult, because he is a sadist. And we have to also wonder what his past is like as a child growing up. Who are his parents? Where are they? Does he have siblings? Has he ever been assaulted as a child himself? Has he assaulted children before? Because we have seen this with sadism. Most of these people, as adults, were abused as children. Not to make excuses, but it's just a known fact that abusers were abused. That is where they learned the behavior from. As I brought you commentary yesterday pertaining to Brenna out of Nevada, who was having sex with her own dog and had child pornography. It comes from child abuse, dysfunctional families. Very interesting commentary. Please check out that live from last night. I do believe you will enjoy the content. They are putting in relations child abuse, child pornography in relations to bestiality, that they go hand in hand. So it's the same for sadism. Rapists, child molesters usually were abused as children. Same thing with serial killers. They usually abused others, were abused as children. Fire starters, it's all the same. And that's what's so sad about the world, is that we all had to be a child first before becoming an adult. And it's not our fault that someone introduced us to sexual acts, bestiality, abuse, porn. It's not your fault. But where there's the problem, you are now an adult and you now are acting all of that stuff out. That's where there's a problem. I want to thank you all for joining me. Hope you enjoyed the content. Feel free to go to my community page to take the polls, to comment on the polls. I have numerous shorts that were uploaded yesterday in the YouTube queue. Check out my content on the young people who were found deceased in Cosby, Tennessee in a vehicle belonging to a young lady. She and a boyfriend broke up and somehow she got him in the car. They came to Tennessee. Don't know if he was alive in Tennessee, but they're no longer alive. Please check out that content. They came from Hinesville, Georgia, both firefighters. The girl was known to be suicidal. They found the car in Cosby, Tennessee, right near Gatlinburg. They are no longer alive. Last night's live was a continual of many subject matters. Please take the polls. The movie of the week is Rideshare. After you watch this movie, it is free in the YouTube queue and on Tubi. You probably will never take another ride in someone else's car that you do not know. What's the problem? Anyway, Rideshare is the movie of the week. It's free on YouTube and on Tubi. Feel free to go to my community page, as I said, to take the polls. And also, go into YouTube queue to check out the shorts that I've done. Latest information pertaining to Gypsy Rose. She's saying she wants to work with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Naturally, you know, Queen has something snide to say about that. How are you going to give a donation when you're asking Ryan for money? I'm just saying. And you definitely can't repay the Make-A-Wish Foundation back unless you just want to give up a lump sum of money that you think was taken by your mother, Miss Dee Dee. And she also wants to help with prison reform for those women who have been unjustly accused of crimes. And she also wants to take psychology courses. But as I said in those shorts I did, Gypsy Rose, I think you might want to consider focusing on yourself, because right now you need more help than you trying to help any woman in prison or any child involved with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. That's my point. You're fine, dear. What do you say, Val? What a wild movie that is. I've never taken a ride share. Well, one thing about it, after you watch that movie, you probably won't ride share, Uber or Lyft or anything else, or DoorDash, because he also, as most of you know, Lyft, Uber also delivers food. So common sense will tell you, somebody knocks at the door, don't open the door with the food, tell them to sit it outside the door, sit it on the porch. But naturally, a person could be lying in wait, standing on the side of the wall, and you open the door, and then they can bum rush you. The next live I'll do, I would like to do a live on prevention pertaining to date sites, meeting people, inviting people to your home, going to their home. I'd like to do a video on that, because there was a video in the YouTube queue pertaining to the African-American female who was dismembered by that white guy she went on the date with up north. And it just goes back to what I've said already. There is no surefire method as not to get hurt, because you can get hurt a multitude of ways. It doesn't necessarily have to be a date, a hookup. It could just be you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. You are that person's eye candy. Waiting at the truck stop, waiting at the bus stop, waiting at the train stop, walking home from work, walking to work, walking to classes, taking a jog, walking on the trail. You can't stop living, and that's the problem. So it doesn't have to be, I let the perpetrator in. I went into the perpetrator's house. I got in the perpetrator's car. I put the perpetrator in my car. You just happen to be in line of where the perpetrator was lying in wait. So that's going to be a problem, okay? It is what it is. You have to be careful out here. As someone said to me recently, Queen, stop shopping late, carrying parcels out in public, because you don't want to be a victim, which is true, because there's always somebody watching. And that's the one thing a lot of you don't think about, because I used to do foolish stuff late night after I used to leave the bar. I always like to go shopping at night. It's not a good idea. I had this penchant. I always want to go to Walmart after I left the bar. Don't know why. But it's not a good idea. Because one, your defenses are down. You think you're aware, but there's always somebody watching. There's always somebody watching, either in the store, in the parking lot. You have to be aware of your surroundings. Once again, you have to be careful what you talk about, what you post. Because I keep seeing the same repetitive behavior with people on social media, posting absurd things. And I see this all the time. There's times I want to post it back saying, why are you showing these things on your profile? Why are you posting money? Okay, you got some money. Do you need to post it? No, it's not a good idea. You're not a rapper. You want to imitate the rappers? Well, they have security usually. You don't make the kind of money they have. You're not paying somebody $100,000 to follow you around. Everything matters on social media. The background. Telling people what side of town you live on. Oh, I went down the street to the Kroger. Well, how long do you think it's going to be before somebody puts two and two together where the Kroger is? You have to be aware. And in this situation here, you call yourself exacting business with someone that you do not know, and this is what you would get in return: being sexually assaulted, groped inside of someone's home. And I'm going to say it again. They are lucky that there wasn't a worst case scenario with him, because he continued to assault, fondle himself. That shows he did not care. That shows he did not care, and he was not going to stop. And the fact that he did this in his house, he felt like he could, because I'm at home. I'm not in the street doing it. And I'm really surprised that wasn't his rebuttal. Well, they came to my house. This is my house. I can touch myself. All they got to do is get up to leave, right? Exactly. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $BeganG129 Cash App, stickers and chats always welcome during the live stream. Thank you for your time. Welcome, Kels, to this network. All new visitors, new subs. Thank you, mods. Thank you, viewers. Old subs, new viewers, people just ear hustling. Thank you for your time. Once again, I will put up a poll pertaining to this masseuse nonsense. The question of the hour would be, would you go to someone's house to get a massage? Number 2, would you allow someone to come to your house and give you a massage? We know that a lot of famous and wealthy people invite their trainers to their house. They invite the masseuse to their house. Is that a good idea to invite someone to your house for a massage, training session, yoga session? It's all the same. It's all the same. Yoga, massage, training, it's all the same. You're welcome, sweetheart. It's all the same. Is it a good idea? Because as I said before at the beginning of this live, you can also get recommendations from someone to paint your house, pave your driveway, put in cabinets, put in flooring. Just because he didn't assault your friend, your neighbor, your grandmother, it doesn't mean that when he comes into your house, he doesn't assault you. As I said, we take chances every day bringing people into our homes to fix the stove, refrigerator, heat, air, cable, Wi-Fi, especially when they're having to go in your private space, such as your bedroom. It's scary because you want to go in there to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do, but now you are alone inside of that space. So this is why it is possibly best to have someone at your house with you. And I'm not talking about a child, because children cannot fight off a predator. And we have seen in many cases, they do not mind assaulting you with the infant, toddler, or school-aged child in the company. So you need somebody bigger and possibly a male at your house when you get Wi-Fi service, cable, plumbing. And I get it, sometimes there's just nobody you can ask. But if you fear for your safety, I would advise you to call someone over to be there and have you some type of weapon, mace, and or if you're a legal carrier, your pow-pow. You're very welcome, Val. Anytime. We'll do a video about that. The things to look out for on the internet. The Queen will take you to the belly of the beast of what to look for on the date site, what to look for on social media when they get in your inbox. I will give you the things I've learned in dealing with people on social media, what to look for as not to become a victim. Same thing with even schemes, scams, people trying to get you to give money for, organizations. Stop answering the phone from unknown callers. People do it because, like they say, you don't know if somebody used somebody else's phone, if they're stranded. I get it. But now, as I've learned with my own number, it's becoming an epidemic. You're just calling me from all these whack-ass numbers. It's like, enough. And I get tired of blocking numbers. I mean, I actually wake up blocking numbers because they just call. Then, like today, you call the numbers back. It doesn't even ring. It hangs up. Invalid number. Just nonsense. But somebody was going to talk if I answered. But that's what we have out here. Schemers, scammers. And that's what you need to understand. Schemers, scammers come in all forms, shapes, sizes, races. On the phone, links in your emails, links in your Gmail, links in your spam, links on your phone directly through direct messaging, text messaging. Don't open up a link you don't know anything about. Same thing with the computer. Don't open up anything to the side of the computer that looks like something like Messenger. Do it off your phone. Don't do it on the computer. Something about that computer. Don't ask me, but I've gotten my computer shut down 2 times with a pop-up link. So, thank you for your time, everybody. Everybody have a good week. Once again, movie of the week is Ride Share. Please check it out. Some of you don't like horror movies. It's not really, really gory, but it's more a thriller. To show you a very disgruntled guy who drives ride share in Los Angeles, and he's not very pleased with social media, and he's not pleased with the people who become passengers in his car. Free in the YouTube queue and also on Tubi. All right, take the polls, everybody. Let's see what you have to say. I'll come back later and read the results from the polls on another topic. I do owe you a topic pertaining to Brian Kohlberger. We're going to go ahead in the belly of the beast and talk about that fool probably later this evening so I can knock that one out of the ballpark. Once again, prayers for Mr. Chandler, Reagan, 2 young people who used to date, and they have been found unalive inside of her car here in Cosby, Tennessee. Prayers to their families. Here is an article that just popped up. Let me see what they have to say about that right quick, and then I'll check out of here. Gosh, it's 4 o'clock already. Man, where's my day gone? Hold on, everybody. Oh, I didn't get a pop-up over here. Let's see. Yeah, check out that live from yesterday. It's a very good live. We had about 4 topics in that live. Let's see. Hold on one second. I didn't get the notification. On my phone. All right. This was a couple hours ago. Two missing Georgia firefighters who'd been high school sweethearts found dead days after woman keyed man's car. 2 Georgia firefighters who used to be high school sweethearts were found dead in Tennessee on Sunday. Hinesville police in Georgia said in a statement, Sunday the firefighters Reagan Anderson and Chandler Kubander were found dead in Cobb County, Tennessee, just east of Gatlinburg. Officials said their bodies were recovered along with Anderson's car, which police said they had been looking for since it was last spotted at a local gym last week. We extend our deepest condolences to the Anderson and Kubander families during this incredibly difficult time, the Hinesville Police Department said. Anderson and Kubander had dated for 7 years since they were in high school, Kubander's parents told WJCL last week. I'm so scared, Jane Kubander, Chandler's mother told the Outlet amid the search for her son and his girlfriend. I just want them home. Kubander's mother told WJCL that she last spoke to her son last Monday morning when he told her that Anderson had been continuously calling him and threatening herself. He was telling me she was blowing up his phone, and he said that she had threatened that she was going to commit suicide, Kubander's mother told the Outlet. And it's not the first time that she has done it, quote unquote. 2 days prior, on Saturday, June 22nd, Anderson was reportedly arrested after Leslie King, Kubander's car, while he was on a date with another woman. Kubander's mother told WJCL that Anderson posted bond after being charged with criminal damage to property and disorderly conduct. Anderson was last seen Monday morning, June 24th, when she and Kubander were spotted by security cameras in her car together in the parking lot outside his gym. So that was Monday. Kubander's parents told WJCL they reviewed the security footage. Okay, so in her car, June 24th. At 11:40, my son walks out of the building and he looks very comfortable, like he had just had a workout, said Kubander's mother. He doesn't look rushed as he walks through the parking lot. After that, we don't see him again. Kubander's mother added, "You don't want to be in this position. And when you see it on television, I can see how they feel. Then it hits you like I'm that person. I do feel that way. This is terrifying and you have no answers." Hinesville police said that investigators in Tennessee are reviewing the crime scene and that details pertaining to the discovery of their bodies, vehicle, events leading to their deaths are not available at this time. People.com is the source. We will talk about this content a little bit later. Maybe I'll wait on the results from what they found in the car and the evidentiary material, and we can discuss it then, or I'll go live to just discuss the hazards of still staying in contact with a person who you have broken up with and they have a mental issue and you're still talking and dealing with them, knowing that they have an issue and they have just violated your person and or your private property. As I said in that live last night, had he just not responded to her, talked to her, answered her phone calls, he might still be alive today. Now, the flip side is she could have easily still followed him to his home, the gym, work, and unalived him there. We will not know. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful week. Have a wonderful day. Stay hydrated. You have been listening to the Vault Excel.